Live from the Jersey Shore. Schmuel Buckman, what's going on, kids? I look like I have a camera problem, don't I? Back in a second. Well, let's pull that stuff down. For some reason, I've got a lot of latency here. And I don't know why. Go to comments. Pretty Antisocial is here. All you guys are here. How's my sound, kids? Can everybody hear me? Turn up, turn down. Am I muted? Is Bob Levy here? Can somebody explain why this camera is doing this? Let's try something here, boys. Oh my God. Peter Sky Parker, perfect audio. I've never heard those words from his mouth before. I am amazed. There we go. Perfect dish, because PSP refuses to just let me have it. I don't know what the latency is in my camera, and I will attempt to fix it now. I'm going to unplug it and plug my camera back in because the hell else do you do, right? And that'll keep the mic on. And I thank you all for being here. My buddy, uh, my buddy, my buddy Dave, will be here soon, and we will also have. Wow, dude, this latency thing is really wild. You know, I actually do test this out before I come on here, and everything works, and then I go to use it, and it works like shit. Um, so unbelievable. Yeah, so I've got wow, I've got Pretty Antisocial here, and that's pretty amazing to me. I love those gals. They've really been doing some killer work on our boy following the steel toe stuff. I was doing steel toe last night when we were on BYB, and I got to tell you, uh, I'm just tired of him. Just tired. He's just lies so much. It's just so hard to be at all interested in him. Um, I can't, I don't know. And you're both lovely people. And I think we're reaching the point with Aaron where what he's doing is he knows that he needs attention, desperately, desperately needs attention. And so what we've got is him making claims and other stuff just to try to grab that attention. And we've been giving it to him. So I can't fault him. He's getting what he wants. But I think a lot of his stuff is devoted towards the young ladies in Pretty Antisocial and to Patrick Melton because he's desperate for attention. And I've come to disbelieve many things. And among those is that he's making his goal. It just doesn't, the numbers don't add up. And then, anybody that's owned a business, if you're putting your own money into it, which we all do at some point in our careers, you're putting your own money in. You're not making money. You're putting money in. So I've got a few things I want to do tonight. As I said, the Pineapple will be joining us. The Dave Sarah will be joining us. I asked Rochi to join us because Rochi said something today, and I wanted to talk to him about it. But he's got a bad cold, and I wonder if I apologize, guys. This is, I'm a boomer, right? Boomy, boomy. Rochi, if the fruit shows up, I'm out. What are you, Dave Sarah now? And yes, the Pineapple is my first bromelain. First. I've had him first. He's my favorite bromelain, I think, is the word that they use to describe a pineapple. Apparently, it's got a lot of bromine in it, which I guess is good. And Rochi, honestly, mate, I can't talk for longer than 2 minutes before I cough. KB's made a career out of that. Come on. All good, Rochi. All good. I really didn't expect you to be able to come on anyway. And when one of those other guys comes on, I'll go out and try to fix my camera so that we actually get some speed here. And I'm hooked up through a bunch of wires, so I imagine that something is causing that problem there. And but we'll all go. So, and something keeps beeping on and off, which means something is signing in and out. Yeah, I love the Pretty Antisocial girls. I like that sort of deep dive into stuff. Patrick does a lot. He points out a lot of things, but I like the fact that we've had court documents and that these ladies have gone over them. Because when we get in, that's where we can really see the bullshit. And I want to credit them with pointing out the one thing that never seems to get pointed out, which is that Kayla is the victim, right? The moron keeps saying Nick, Nick, Nick. Nick is not a victim. Kayla's the victim. And I do believe that she has, as they say, agency. She can do her own stuff. So I seriously doubt Nick dragged her by the ear to the courthouse and made her file a complaint. And I would be pretty embarrassed. I don't know what's going on. Does he have a plea deal or not? I tend to doubt it. I thought I heard him walking it back a little bit today. These things, you never know what's going to happen. A little of this, a little of that. So, but it just, nothing about this case makes sense to me. I guess it's possible that something happened on the other side, the prosecution side, but nobody I know of and nobody I talked to lawyer-wise, and I've talked to at least 3, say that out of the blue, the prosecution comes and drops you a deal like that. Usually you go to them, it's back and forth, but I could be wrong about my fact that he said there was like a 2-week period, they hadn't heard anything, and then this just dropped out of the blue. I don't know. Everything with this guy just defies belief, right? The whole, all of it, every little bit of it. So I actually chatted for a few minutes on DM with Rochi, and I had asked him to come on tonight because he talked about last night. I was on BYB, and Quad brought up steel toe, and I guess I was old and I guess I was tired because I was like, he's just an asshole, and I really couldn't come up with anything. And Quad's more thoughtful than I am, so it just wasn't something. I I felt bad about it. And then Yingwei bailed on us. So 2 minutes before I was going to suggest that I left. But these are the things that happen. So there we go. And Schmuel, where is the fruit? No British one. The pickle lover. I'm going to assume that's a pickle, or is it a cucumber? 6 perfect weeks of steel toe meeting the goal. Look, man, nobody believes that. I believe Aaron believes it. That's what's so friggin' freaky about this. But I don't believe it. It's like he doesn't make the goal, and then overnight somebody sends him money to make up the goal, or he pulls money out of his pocket and he puts it in, and then that's the goal, right? The goal is met. And or Doom, So Thorough, Joe Burrow, Stalin, all the good Clippers will put up him missing the goal on, say, a Monday. And then Wednesday, we're hearing that he's had a perfect week. So I do believe the official term for that is called fudging the numbers. But I just don't believe him. KB is asking, where's David? He is putting lotion on his dad's ass. He will be with us. He just is not going to be with us right away. And he does a bonus show. I think we're talking about Quad. Could have picked another time, but that's fine. I do this show at this time. I picked it Tuesdays and Thursdays between 6:45 and 7:15 because it would be after Brennan on Tuesdays and before Tukey on Tuesdays as well. So get you in there for a little bit. And since I don't have any super chats, super tips, or any of that stuff, I figured that'd give you guys a break from people begging for your money. Or uh, what are they? The old organ grinder, when you would throw the organ grinder money and the monkey would dance, um, or dancing for your money, which leads me into what I want to talk about. But let's put up pretty antisocial. Aaron is towing the lie, if you will, as it were. Take that for what you mean. Uh, yeah, he's unbelievable. And even equally as amazing is right his thinking that Anthony Cumia getting back on radio is somehow going to help him. Uh, I think I put on a chat one day that Ray DeVito will appear on Jimmy Kimmel before Steel Toe gets a radio job, and I'm not really expecting Ray to make it onto Jimmy Kimmel, so there's that, and that gets it. But let's get into uh, what we want to talk about. And what I want to talk about is our podcasters, an attitude I've been hearing lately, and eventually we're going to get it. I have two things. They're both Anthony Cumia related, uh, and probably with Ant, we'll get into Brennan a little bit. I watched Brennan today for a while, and there's that thing where you have your AirPods in and your phone is in the other room, and if you turn it off, you're going to be listening to nothing. But maybe listening to nothing is better. I don't. I really don't. I don't get it. I don't understand what his problem is. Um, this thing about us not bring. I shouldn't say us, but people not bringing original content. People doing this. People. You know. Uh, Everyone's wrong except KB. And look, he's got his loyal followers. He makes money. Uh, and that's great, man. I don't begrudge anybody their ability to make money, but I don't understand the offense. It's like, in the old Howard Stern days, if it makes you unhappy, just don't listen, right? Nobody forces anybody to listen to any of these programs, and yet we're all here. And Mrs. Buckman walked in the house, and I can hear her yelling. So for the dog, I don't know where he went, but I had to leave the door open because the dog was here. Otherwise, we'd hear scratching. And that's him in the upper right. He's the official resident. Oh, thank you, Peter. Schmuel, we saw you wipe your nose, but I appreciate the effort. Thank you, PSP. I will do better. But I have a real latency issue with my camera. It seems to be behind. And in any event, all right. So let's see. I'm going to mute for 1 second. Please close it. One thing about being married, at least to my wife, and doing this, she will come in the room and talk to me during a podcast, which is sort of interesting. I don't know if that means she doesn't necessarily take it seriously. Mint Diggity, the Dabbleverse, desperate for another dead horse to beat since the Duke left. I was listening on Monday to Point Dabble Point, and it sounded like Carl and Shuley were dividing up the spoils of the dead horses. That, if I have it correctly, Shuley's going to take Opie, and no, Shuley's taking Kevin, and Carl is taking Opie. So I don't know what that's all about. But let's, excuse me, pop into this because I I wonder what people think, and I will, Mr. Blue Sky. Whoop, wrong one, Mr. Blue Sky. You were there a minute ago. I like both Carl and Schmuel. At least I respect what they've been able to accomplish. So, and we'll talk about that in a minute. And Mr. Blue Sky, Schmuel is on the toilet. Now, the one thing I have learned is brush my teeth and go to the bathroom before this thing starts. So we do that. And he wiped his nose and not his collar. I could get used to this. Yes, but I will say that Stuttering John, like, I forgot the box of tissues. So I did. Can you see it? I did run and grab the roll of toilet paper. So I'm only half there. Sooner or later, I will get fully there. The Schmuel Talk studios move between 3 different places depending upon the day. So it always requires me to get set up, which is a problem because I can't just leave things the way they are. And then I always forget something. I did sit here one night wondering why I couldn't hear anything. And it was because the headsets were not plugged in. So there you go. And Dave is coming on. I know that's who you come here for. And the pineapple is supposed to be here. Maybe Rochi can give him a call. I did send him a link. I was going to send Ray DeVito a link. Ray called me just before the show, but I didn't answer. Hold, please. The pineapple's complaining that it's late. You British boys, just nothing, you know? I come on here 3 o'clock in the morning, and sometimes I stay. One thing about getting invited on a podcast that never ends, I'm such a nice guy. I don't want to leave. I'm going to use the tissue. I guess it's winter time. And once again, let's just put that up there, Mr. Blue Sky. Pretty antisocial, fantastic women. I did get a chuckle today. Maybe it was last night or today. Keanu used the word pivot, and I thought, oh my God, she's got a word of the day calendar. And somebody posted after my tweet that she needed one with the word dissemination on it, which I thought was hilarious. And Mint Diggity, Schmuel, send the good doctor a link. Which good doctor would that be? So there we go. So let's get into this. Now let's remember our particular universe, right? We have, as Carlos Danger pointed out, we have, sort of the original Dabbleverse shows of Carl, Schmuel. We have Cardiff, who came in, Tukey, and those, and maybe they weren't great when they walked through the door, but let's take a look at our boy Anthony here. Okay, and to be on 2 screens.
Last week about podcasters and how podcasters feel like they're broadcasters, and it's not necessarily so. There are some podcasters that are broadcasters; they're very good at it, and then there are podcasters that are just terrible, and I don't think they'd last 2 seconds on radio or hosting a TV broadcast show, whatever it is, where you have to. There has to be some kind of format to it. And your stories have to be concise and make sense, have a beginning, middle, and an end. I see a lot of people have problems with that. And then here's another thing, and I brought this up obviously before. You have to have something to talk about. That's an interesting concept for some podcasters. They just don't seem to have anything to talk about. So it's the thought that some of these people can just go to radio is interesting.
All right, look. I assume that he's trying to throw shade at Brennan or Stuttering John. I mean, Stuttering John has failed at radio. We're aware of that. I don't know whether it's talent or laziness, but I think, or maybe it was both. But we could talk about that. Say what you will about Brennan. Brennan makes a bunch of money doing podcasts, but I don't really know how many of the podcasters think that they're broadcasters, right? I mean, who starts this and says, "Oh, I'm a broadcaster. I could be on radio." Yeah, there's guys like Aaron, but that was it. All right, let's just say Peter Sky Parker. I thought it was obvious that he was talking about the toe, but I'm only half paying attention. I don't know. He might be talking about the toe, but the toe was actually on radio, right? And if anybody, I know there's very few of you that did, but if anybody listened to E-Rock on Chrissy Mayer, E-Rock said he was talking about the two sides of radio, right? There's the talent side and the sales side. And the deal is that Toe crossed those boundaries, right? He didn't let that fence. He went out and he sold his own ads, which is why he got on the air. So I don't want to say that Toe, uh, what's the word that I'm looking for? I don't want to say Toe leased time to be on that radio station that he was on, but he definitely sold his own ads, and he said it, and that's how he made money. Now, I love Anthony Cumia's comedy, everything else. I will talk about his political attitudes in a bit, but not right now. But I don't know. I don't know. Is he throwing shit at Aaron? Is he throwing shit at Brennan? Is he throwing shit at Stuttering John? Or is he throwing shit at these other guys who just started doing this thing? Because then he does. We'll see it. He definitely does back up a little bit.
Because I've noticed a few podcasters have been chatting, a little chatter in the podcast ranks since I got a radio gig, that maybe that's in the cards for them. Maybe they can get a radio show. I've broken that ice. I think they see it. I've shoved my foot in the door, and all of them can follow me into the radio world. No, no. Some of them can. Some are talented. Others, oof. I know there's people like John, Stuttering John. He's a little angry. He did his last show, and I guess yeah, Schmuel and Uncle Rico and the guys were talking about it last night, or it was during my show, so I couldn't watch live, but I watched after. I was just dying laughing. Oh my God, he's just the worst. He's terrible, and he's mad. Like, he brings up, Bucky, Bucky. They put him on ABC. This guy's a racist, because he's mad. He professes to do a political show. By the way, that was his show. That they were reviewing last night was his last show he said he's doing, and it was his political show.
So obviously Anthony's talking about Stuttering John because he says he's Stuttering John. But let's. I sort of want to Crumbum. He's talking about you, Schmuel. I'm well aware that he's not talking about me. But um, when I went to AC, one of you lovely people um, said to me, "Oh, I heard you stream the other night," and one of the more popular and or famous podcasters in our little group said, "Oh, everybody's doing a show now," so um, maybe I'm a little hypersensitive, but the reality is everybody can, and I would like to remind Anthony that he was a tin knocker before he came to this. He didn't have any experience in. He's had 30 years to build talent. Very funny guy, naturally funny. But he's had 30 years to build talent. So some of these people may not be. We may we're never going to get to broadcasting, but don't begrudge us having a little fun. Eckel, how are you?
Oh, hi, Schmuel. Yeah, I'm fine, thanks. Sorry I'm a bit late, mate. I have to go
It's all
pop on
good.
and see my mate Luigi.
And you were on with your mate Luigi. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I realised once you said, "Do you want to pop on?" that I was 15 minutes late to pop on his members only show for a bit to say hi. So yeah, apologies.
the the members only shows frustrate the shit out of me
Mm,
because it's like
okay.
4 members, but I can't close the app and listen to it.
Oh, really? Oh, fuck, that is annoying.
Does anybody else have that
That is shit.
experience? Like I listen
Mm,
to you guys on Sunday night and I've got to drive
mm,
home. And normally with YouTube, I could just, minimize the app and there we go. But if I move it over to the nav system or something, I lose you and then I have to go back into it. And
mm.
same thing
Not
with
really worth it, right?
pretty antisocial. Well,
Mm.
it's like, well, this is
Worth it
supposed to
with
be,
them.
a perk of my membership, and it becomes more of a pain in
Mm.
the ass than a perk.
Sad times. But yeah, I don't know. I've never had that experience, unfortunately, and I've not had anyone else moan about it, unlike you, Shmuel. So
I know.
I'll look into it.
I
I'll
moan
speak to
about
my guys at YouTube, and I'll get back to you on it.
I
See what
moan
I can
about
do.
everything. Yeah, good luck. Good luck getting through to YouTube. YouTube.
No, I've got some contacts. It's fine. Don't worry. I'll get
Yeah,
an answer for you.
I'm sure you do. All right. Mint Diggity. It's true though. Do you ever wonder why? Why so many chatters do their own show? Is it because they think you can do a better job?
Oh, that's a
Uh,
good question.
it is a good question. My
Hmm.
answer is no. I didn't think I could do better than anybody. Um, I'm here because Dave Sarah and I used to talk on the phone all the time, and
Okay.
Dave was like, "Hey, we should do this on a stream."
Hmm.
So that's how it got started. And my goal originally was to try to take a more in-depth and less schlocky look at the goings on in the Dabbleverse.
Hmm. I think there might be some people that is true though about and I think some people look and they see super like for example with KB people look and they go, oh well, he's making loads of money, all he's doing is like yelling at the screen and got he's getting super chats, and it's like, yeah, it's not that easy, because then you go and see all of the people who have tried to do it since, and they get absolutely no views. They get no interest really. So
Right. And I do monetization when you talk to other podcasters, it's just like
mm,
monetization. Um,
mm,
and you can be monetized all day long, but if nobody's watching, it's not going to do any good. And that's I know
yeah,
that Liam is trying to get monetized, so he's running
it's
old
overrated.
out
Like
of copy.
I don't know why he's trying to get monetized. Why doesn't he do something that people watch and then worry about that later?
Right.
Surely.
And so he's got those old out of copyright movies that he runs. And it's like, oh, I'm
Mm,
building watch hours, I'm building watch hours. But
mm-hmm,
if that's how you establish your brand, when you get monetized, you're still going to get 2 or 3 people watching you, right? Um, I,
mm-hmm.
you know, you got to get out there. Nice podcast, stupid. Liam should focus on film school. Uh,
For sure.
yeah, I don't. Liam he's actually his writing is really good. Like he's a good comic. Um,
Apparently so. You keep saying it. I've not seen any evidence of it yet, Schmuel, but you keep
what
telling me how good a writer and how good a comedian he is.
you have
So
to.
one day I'll see some evidence of it. I'm sure. I
Yeah,
believe you.
you'll have to
Yeah.
YouTube his. He's got some performances up. But the deal with him is he's always been in that very woke area of comedy. Um,
Hmm.
so instead of just fun, there always seems to have to be a point, and we
Mm.
have to learn something from it. And I don't really need to learn things from comedians. So,
No.
um, but I think you guys are probably right. I mean, there are people that think that they can do it better. I'm wondering though,
Yeah.
are there people that think they can do it better, or are there people that think they could make a living on this?
Oh, I hope not. I really hope not. Because even when you see some of the people who do it full time, obviously not the same level as the bigger guys, but like Joey C, for example, he's doing well for a person in his position. But how much does he get? Do you think like a month, like $1,000 maybe? After everything gets taken, like £1,000, $1,000? You reckon? Maybe more? Maybe a
Yeah,
bit more? That's
I
nothing.
don't even know if he got.
That's absolutely.
I'm
That's
shocked
absolutely
by
nothing.
that. I didn't think he got anywhere near
Mm,
that.
yeah,
But
but
I
yeah,
don't know. Do you want to be for $1,000 a month? Do you want to be the guy that people throw pies at? I mean, that's basically what it is, right?
for sure. Yeah, and I can only guess that it's all extra money. Like for me, to be honest, any money I get is just a little bit of pocket money that can go towards a bit of equipment or some rubbish that I want to put it towards. But at the end of the day, it's nothing. It's pennies. It's absolutely pennies. So I don't get unless you're getting TSN, MLC money. Is it worth it? I wouldn't think so. I wouldn't think it's something to copy to follow because I think they're the few people who have been getting enough money to have it as a career.
Yeah, and
Mm.
here we go. Chris Mack. I
Hey,
took my
Chris. Mhm.
microeconomics final on Sunday, Echo, but I ended the term with a 96 average overall. Uh,
A
we'll take.
minus, but I ended the term with 96. Well
We'll
done,
take.
Chris. That's good. Hmm.
Isn't 96 an A?
Or maybe he ended with an A and then was separating the sentence. But either way,
Oh,
you did good. Well
congratulations, my
done,
friend.
Chris.
Very happy for you. Um, Ozone, MLC, and TSN money will go down
I
25%
saw this
every
comment
year.
earlier. Yeah,
Uh,
potentially, unless they actually adapt and change. That's the thing that I find sad in this whole Dabbleverse, Hackverse, Shitverse. Everyone's just waiting for them to like crumble, and there's no one that's like, wouldn't it be good if KB was like, fuck this shit. I've got the people, I've got the kind of like followers. I'm gonna actually pivot. I'm gonna do something different. I'm gonna, try to change a bit from where I'm going. More so on TSN, like more responsibility on them to absolutely pivot because they're paying three people's plus wages. But yeah, I don't know. It'd be sad if they just keep doing the same shit over and over until no one watches.
yeah, it's. I used to enjoy Point Dabble Point, and now I pretty much forget that it's on because it's on moved to
Mhm.
Mondays, and
Yeah.
I listened to it on Monday, and I would say half of it was just super chats talking about Dabble House. Um,
Mm.
it was very frustrating to me because I'm like, it's like I pay extra money so I don't have to watch ads, and yet I'm listening to this show that it's essentially ads, and so yeah, not my thing. I do laugh at uh, two things. One is I get a lot of people who uh, offer me advice,
Just
right?
grabbing
Like
a drink, keep chatting. I'm listening.
this is what you have to do. You have to do. This is the how you do. This is how you handle it. Um, you got to do this and that. And I will look, and they have 75 followers, and
Mhm.
you know, their shows get 12 or 13 people, and I'm like, all right, well, maybe you're not the person to be giving me advice. And sometimes they're just trying to be helpful. Um,
Yeah,
but some of it is,
but
this is what you need to
you
do.
do realize advice doesn't have to come from someone who's had that exact same situation or is a professional. It helps for sure, but advice you can just take or dismiss, right? If it's coming from a good place, then cool, cheers, thank you, nice one, appreciate it. You know, next.
Unless
Doesn't have to be.
they're following your YouTube streams, and then after every stream send you the advice list again. But
Okay, all right, yeah, fair enough. Well, that's your fault for responding then, I guess.
you know, and I get the other thing, I've met a lot of people, and I will ask them like about their YouTube streams or whatever. I'm like, what's your goal? Like,
Mhm.
what did you, when you did this, what did you want to accomplish? And I'm very surprised at how few people can answer that question.
Do you want to know what my goal is?
Sure.
Out of interest. Sure. So my goal initially was to see if I could get to the monetized level with over 20 people watching my show on average. Yeah, like in general, within a year. Because I was like, it's not like I've got the ability or charisma or skills of like people like Bedabbler, or the team behind me like Schmuel does, or the comic kind of like, let's be real, like he is funny, KB, you know, as much as he's a shouty old man now, he is still funny. So I was just going to see, could I get it? Could I get people to actually follow me? Could I get, you know, to whatever standard we class as quite respectable? People go, oh, you're monetized, well done. You know, so that was my target for a year, and I did that. My target now is to see if I can get people from outside the Dabbleverse to join watching my show. Now that's going to be harder, a lot harder, but that's why I'm trying to do a few different things, see if it kind of draws in a few different eyeballs.
Yeah, it's tough. Like, there's a billion
Mm.
people on the planet. I mean, you know, billions of people on the planet, a billion people with YouTube, and we're looking for
Yeah.
20 or 25 people to regularly watch our shows. And that's
Mm-hmm.
not the easiest thing in the world to get.
Yeah, but mate, I guarantee you, you go over on Twitch or whatever, and there will be 1,000+ people streaming to nobody. So again, I think be grateful for those 5 people. Be grateful for all those, especially if they're actually watching and actually involved with it, because then you can kind of grow from there, right?
Oh yeah,
It is nice podcast, stupid. It is.
I agree. I'm gonna do Mint Diggity. Most people talk petty Dabbleverse drama. Schmuel looks at the big picture. Well, thank you if that's how you really feel.
Sure.
But yeah, that's I guess, you know, as I've gotten older, I want to see how the pieces fit together, and I like sort of I like looking at the economics of YouTube. I like looking at why people want to stream, what their topics are, um,
Mm.
and yeah, and I don't want to get caught up. Stuttering John, Steel Toe, those guys are. I mean, they're interesting, but I get to a point where I'm like, all right, we know they're assholes. Can what's like? Let's get beyond that. And then even with Steel Toe, I'm reaching the point where I think he just does stuff just to piss people off, so that he's generating. You know, I think he's like not giving the actual clips, but he's doing his show knowing that it's going to be clipped for Melton, and that's the stuff that he wants up there. Guys like
Ozone's
Chad
got
amaze me. Go ahead.
Sorry. I was
No,
going
no,
to
you
say
go.
Ozone's got quite a good little retort there. Dan has a point, Eccles. Maybe a floating pineapple is off-putting for them. 100%. 100%. Might be hard to appeal to a non-Dabbleverse crowd. You're right, and you're wrong. There are a lot of idiots out there, Ozone. There's also a lot of people with a sense of humor, and also people who can kind of look past well, it's a pineapple. I don't want to fucking watch a pineapple. Like, fair enough, there's going to be 95% of those people who will think that initially. But you're absolutely right. Realistically, I'm probably gonna have to filter for maybe another 6 months, then I'll probably get rid of it. But it's fun, There's a little bit of shtick. Some of my favorite people that I watch, Cardiff have a filter. OJ and obviously Tuki's got the little gimmick of the of puppet and what have you, and he wears mask as Big Dabbler. So it's fun, You look at people, you're like, oh, they're cool, they're interesting, just a little bit of nonsense,
Yeah, I don't think that the potato, and look, I could be wrong. I don't think the potato is as much a gimmick as it is. He really needed
Hey, pretty
to
Annie.
hide who he was, and he's also really talented. I think he's very funny. He's one of the first people that I got interested in when I came into the Dabbleverse. Got to meet him in Pottstown. Really nice guy. He got up on stage at Pottstown, and now you got to remember Pottstown was a giant clusterfuck, so probably only three people heard what he said in May. But he got up on stage and he acted like an open micer. He had his note cards with him, and he was reading the joke. And I quickly realized it was Chad's Dale Mabry Walmart joke. And I laughed because he really pulled it off. It was very funny the way he did it. And I was like, wow, this guy's talented. And I posted earlier this week, nobody seems to remember when Cardiff and Tukey uncovered the real attacker of Chad. That was when Chad got attacked and he said it was Kumia country. And Cardiff and Tukey did a show, and they literally drew in the entire Dabbleverse. It was like the 1950s. Everybody's sitting around their radios. Everybody's sitting around their computers and phones waiting for the disclosure, and they had nothing.
Just fucking with everyone. And that's great.
It was hilarious. And the next day, KB...
A lot of people were very annoyed.
Oh, KB very was so pissed off. And I was pissed off at first, and then as I was listening to it, I'm like, I can't believe they got me in here to do this, and I should have known it was going to be shtick.
No, a show on YouTube doesn't tell the entire truth.
Right, and I had that realization as I was listening to it. Go, well, who's the idiot here, them or me? And God, it was
100%.
it was so funny. And then see, like I don't see Tukey as gimmicky either. That's a talent. I mean, he's
well, I didn't say Cardiff's gimmicky. I said he has a gimmick, which he himself would say when before he was the Watcher, right? And his gimmick was that he wasn't anyone essentially. So I don't know. Like I get it. I 100% get it. And someone put up there earlier, I'd watch him if he did a show about blah blah. It's like not everyone's going to be remotely interested in a British person, for example. Fucking hard to understand. Also, I cover people like Joey C. Not everyone wants to fucking talk about Joey C. So
no, Joey C gets
each for their own, right?
Yeah, Joey C gets he's another one that I find tiresome, right? Because he's performing, right? And the best moments of Joey C are when you catch him with the truth. That's when I find him interesting or funny. But I gave up because it's just like Joey is the kind of guy. Joey will call you, talk to you, and he's got a million ideas. We're gonna do this. We're gonna do that. We're gonna do this. We're gonna do that. And none of them ever happen. But he does them once. We were talking the other day about the metal detector episode, right? And he did the metal detector episode. And what was he getting? A sewer pipe or something in the park that he was detecting, and the bell with a buzzer was going off, and it was super annoying. And people say,
I'm pretty sure he had his shovel by the metal detector a lot of the time as well, accidentally. So no, I'm finding something.
And then you say to him, "Oh, you should do the metal detecting thing more. Get out on the streets more." He's like, "I tried that; it doesn't work." And his walk and talks were fun. I just think that a lot of the drama that he has is created, not real. So maybe the walk and talks wouldn't work, right? Because it's
Nah,
just a walk and there's nothing
hit.
happening.
Walk and talks is best Joey because nothing is happening. So he's just got to talk. He's just got to create stuff. He's gonna get told by people, if you really do call black people the N word, why don't you just say it to that chap right next to you, that black guy right next to you? Go and say it now. And he's like, "You're right, my brother." It's like, yeah, exactly. Shut up.
What
Idiot.
was that thing? What's her name? Elisa? Is it Elisa? Or
Mhm.
Eliza Schlesinger? Not Schlesinger. The girl that comes in on Stuttering John's friend. Elisa Jordana.
Yes.
And she's got speakers on where people can chat in and everybody
Yes.
around her can hear the speakers. That would be fun to do with
IRL.
Joey.
Yeah. They were trying to get what's his face to do it, weren't they? Stuttering John. He actually met up with her to talk about it once. Nice podcast, stupid. Eccles, you could use a more British film, like Big Ben or something. I think people would get a kick out of that. Lean into the Brit angle. Yeah, I've been being very subtle with my Britishness at the moment. So you're right. That reminds me of OJ's brilliant advice. It's like, you should change your name. I was like, oh, thanks. Yeah, he's like, Eccles Pineapple's too confusing. I'm like, okay, fair. He's like, you should change it to Cool Pineapple. I'm like, yeah, brilliant. What a brilliant suggestion. Maybe I'll change my name to Cool Pineapple and dress up as Big Ben. I'm sure that's not even worse than what I've already got. But yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
Well, as the person who named this show, right? We know you have good. I got Dixon when I told Dixon what the name of the show was. I got a laugh from him. He thought it was hilarious.
There you go.
So I wish I could. I wish I could have taken credit for it. And
you could have. He doesn't know who Eccles Pineapple is. It's fine. He could be like,
yeah.
Yes,
the problem is I won't remember that I did, and then later on I'll be talking. I talk to him regularly, so I don't want to be thought of as somebody that's making up stories. So, and I like giving credit when I can, especially here. And that's the deal, man. I have like 117 subscribers. And
show off.
I am amazed that 117 people subscribed. And I'm amazed at how nice everybody has been. I get a few trolls in the chat, but mostly everybody's been really cool. And when I've met them in person, they've been really cool. So, and I got lucky when I first started. I got some DMs from a couple of big clippers and Carlos Danger and that were like, oh, they enjoyed it. And I was like, well, I could be, it's possible I'm being trolled, but I'm just going to believe that they really did enjoy it and I'm just going to go forward. So,
for sure. Oh my God.
the other guy, does everyone know that Eccles is Luke spelled backwards? You doxing little Aussie, you.
I think so. There's quite a funny comment by Peter Sky Parker earlier as well. He goes, yeah, but what does he say? Eccles and Cool both sound like Luke when spelled backwards. It's like, yeah, but only Eccles makes sense because Eccles is Luke spelled backwards. Whereas if you've just got Cool, I'm going, look at me, I'm a cool pineapple. You're like, oh my God, that's even worse. So yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. And is that how you came? How did you come up with the pineapple? I mean, how did you settle on that filter?
Honest to God, I was just like, I don't want to show my face. I don't want to get my company getting emails about me being like, did you hear what this guy said about Packies on his show? So I was like, I could probably just use one of those filters that those guys use. So I looked at the ones that Luigi and that use, and they're shit. No offense, Luigi. I don't like them. I hate them. I was like, I like the look of the ones that Cardiff and that use. So I'm a swinger as well. Good point, Icy guy. And I just looked through. I was kind of like scrolling through. I was like, nope. I saw the pineapple. I thought, beautiful. What's more British than a pineapple?
Yeah. Oh, Okay. I just
Hmm.
wonder where people come up. The OJ makes sense, right? Because it's obnoxious John.
Yep.
And I guess the potato makes sense because he kind of looks like one, right?
Fair enough.
It's like a big giant Idaho baked
But you know
potato.
the story with Cardiff, why he kind of went with that potato feel, right?
I have no idea.
Okay, so I'll leave it to Rochi to tell another day, but essentially, roughly, I think on WATP they were reviewing a guy who was using a potato filter,
Hmm.
that exact potato filter. So I guess it kind of caught his eye, and he was like, "Oh, I'll do that." So that's the very poor version of that story.
Clo- Close enough. I was hoping for something a little more dramatic, but
No, well, there might be, but that's the cliff notes. I think they call it,
you
right?
know, like when he was a
Yeah.
kid, he had a Mr. Potato fetish, and
Mm,
and as he grew
potentially.
up, he couldn't get rid of the potato fetish. All right, let's look at some of these chats. I like the free chat. I like it being interactive, um,
Hmm.
and I like reading the chat. And I I don't. Oh, this is Aussie saying you're a swinger. Uh,
Yes, because of
I
the
don't know what
pineapple,
time it
the
is in
upside down
Perth,
pineapple.
but we could definitely send Dean a link.
Morning. He's
Um,
probably working, mate. He's probably at
I know, I
work.
know. Well, if he's working, he shouldn't be on here chatting with us.
He's not going to be in his shed, is he? Just
Well,
sitting in his shed waiting for his stream.
he's like an electrician. He could do a Felicia Gillespie thing and try to chat and get himself shocked
Hmm.
and leave his poor kids alone. So, uh, there you go. So let's say,
Mm-hmm.
um, some. I will say this. I hear that most of the Dabbleverse is obese. Um,
Well, aren't most people kind of fat
right.
nowadays, really? Like in general, like even by the technical term, I think most people would be classed as fat. I think.
Yeah.
Apart, like like I see a lot of fat people,
I
mainly in
do
the mirror.
too. We were talking when I was in Vienna earlier in
Mm.
December, I guess. And
Hmm.
I said to you, I go, everybody here is thin except the British and the Americans.
Yeah, yeah, we are definitely a close second behind you guys,
Oh my God.
for
It was
sure.
like you could, because you couldn't tell because people look alike. I mean, occasionally you could, but when you'd see somebody fat and they were and they walked in a restaurant and they were behind you, and then people were sitting, when you heard the voice, you knew, oh, I bet you that's the fat girl or fat guy. And very, very, it was, I couldn't, it was, I was chatting with you at the time and I was like, I had to remark
Mm,
on it. Um, but now that we have Ozempic, everybody will be thin. But
perfect.
uh, I
No
I
side
can't.
effects.
Yeah,
Brilliant.
I can say that there are a lot of single men in the Dabbleverse, and
Mm,
there are a lot of
losers.
overweight single men in the Dabbleverse. And
Double losers.
I'm also
Mm,
very surprised at how few of the young men talk about women. Not in a dirty and or negative way, but like
mm.
dating. Um, it blows me away how many single guys are available for streaming on a Saturday night.
Shit. Wait, are you calling me out? No, it's fine. I'm okay.
I thought you were a married to a beautiful East
I
Asian
am.
woman.
Yes, I'm married to a Paki woman. Correct. 100%.
And
100%.
nothing wrong with that. Don't make you a bad person.
No,
I
makes the house smell. But apart from that,
So we have this place, and this isn't, what do you call it? Maybe it is a humble brag, but we have a condo up north near the city, and
ooh.
we had an Indian family move in down the hall, and
Mhm.
they're the sweetest people in the world, but there is definitely a hint of curry in the hallways now that was not
The
there
aroma.
before.
Yes, yes. That's
And
very
so,
generous of you.
and I used to live in an apartment building with an Italian family, and they had like 4 apartments in the building. And every Sunday morning, the grandmother would start to cook, and she would make their food for the week. And and it'd be like, I don't know, 8:30 on a Sunday morning, and you'd start smelling all that cooking. I'd be like, oh no, this is disgusting. So it's not just an East Asian thing.
It is mainly them, though. I'm not gonna lie. That is mainly the smell that I don't like. I'm not gonna lie. The one reason I will never go to India, despite wanting to see some amazing things that I'm sure they've got over there, like Taj Mahal and what have you. But yeah, I'm never going there. I'm not gonna be throwing up and shitting myself for a week on end whilst getting fucking my wife groped by a bunch of fucking dirty Indians. No offense, dirty Indians.
Yeah, I don't know that I have any desire
Mm-mm.
to go there.
There's so many other places to go first. Don't worry about it.
Yep. I think our next one is Greece. And this is hold on.
Oh, I went on a cruise to quite a few different places in Greece. Make sure you let me know where you're going.
I will. I think we're going to an ancestral home of some sort. But
That narrows it down.
This Schmuel dude is dropping how rich he is. Humble brag. I wish it really has.
That's why I hang around with Schmuel. I'm hoping to get to go to one of his condos at some point.
It has significantly more to do with getting married later in life. So we were lucky enough that we had the condo, and then we moved in together. So I had a little apartment in Queens, sold that, and then it was like, oh, let's buy a place. And so we've had this place, and never intended to really use it like we do, but COVID changed everything. You know, once we went to remote work, the world is changed. All right, Peter Sky Parker. Okay, you get a chance to see what happened after you left the F Pyramid stream. That probably wasn't the best one for me to pick up. OG Mumbling Nick. Who doesn't like the smell of Italian food? I love the smell of Italian food, just not very early on a Sunday morning after I've been out drinking all night. I'm very sensitive to smells.
Wait, do you still go out drinking? How old?
Not anymore.
Like 60?
I haven't. Yeah, it's been like 8 or 9 years, but
okay.
I don't. Yeah, but I don't. That was everything was a long time ago. And Ozone, Tukey going live tonight. I want to see some Blind Mike versus OJ talk. Yeah, it was that was pretty intense. I was gonna send. I listened to Mike's show on Sunday, and I was gonna send a tweet saying I listened to your show, and I'm really annoyed I haven't gotten a personal thank you, but I didn't want to add to the OJ drama. And OJ is a really nice guy, and looks nothing like you expect him to look, which blew me away. And he's a good looking fella, and he wears designer jeans. If anybody's interested, all you women. But
you want to piss on him?
Yeah. Ozone Blind Mike went off on it. Yes, he did. And I will leave that to them. Oh, he's there. I guess we're having crosstalk in the chat. Am I supposed to be April and say, you know, you guys don't get a chance.
You just
to
be
ask,
great.
The
just be grateful. There's people
that
talking.
often.
They do. They've got better things to do than come in my stream and ask me. I understand. It makes sense.
Do you read the free chat?
Obviously, yeah. Yeah, otherwise we don't talk to anyone. So yeah, that's the way it works.
So when I started doing this, I had gone on Ray's show a few times, and Ray got really mad at me because I was reading the free chat. And I talked to somebody else who is monetized, actually makes money on this, and they said that the free chat, it detracts from the super chats, and people they won't super chat if you're engaging them in the free chat. And that's
Mm,
when I started thinking about like, what's your goal in being here? So
mm.
um, you are welcome to stay, but I don't know if you have, if you're interested in this. I want to do a little bit of Kumia and his uh, political, not political, but his view on life, and a little story he told about a restaurant the other day. I heard Kevin Brennan going off on him, and that's not what I'm going to do. It's something completely different. But I, I'm it's we've gotten very political now that Trump is
Oh
president,
dear.
and
Mm.
these it's just amazing
OG
to me.
Mumbling Nick, give him a follow. There you go. If you're going to mention politics and Dabbleverse, got to do it. Sorry, it's in my contract.
I was on OG Mumbly Nick's. I was chatting to OG Encrypted the other day, and I was,
Mm,
as I often do, I yell at Nick, you
mm.
know, on the chat, and
You're an angry old man. It makes
they were
sense.
trying to
Yeah.
do Brian Caram. Well, no, I like Nick a lot, but I just, I think what happens is that we forget, we miss the point. So let's see, Ozone. You have to read ahead before you read, Schmuel. Get serious with your life.
Now,
Ozone.
Schmuel, can you
I-
tell Ozone if you read that chat before you pulled it up or not?
I did read it, actually.
Yeah, right.
Well, I did read the last sentence. I read "Get serious with your life." So, um, I know. I just we have to do. We have to. I'm not the best at this. I'm still in the process of learning.
Still good.
So this
It's
is
all good.
unfortunately just a sound clip, and it's from Mr. Kumia's radio show on Sunday night. But it's an issue that I've run into a lot with new people, not new people, with the newer right wing people that seem to have come out of the woodwork since Trump got elected. I get a lot more specious tweets that, you know, this person's going to be arrested, that one's going to jail, these people are no good. A lot of the really big anti-immigrant stuff, and there's not a lot of thought behind it. So let's listen.
On this Sunday evening, how is everybody? Hope you had a great weekend up till now. I know technically it's still the weekend, but please, let's all be honest about Sundays. Saturday night happens. Even kind of getting into early Sunday morning, Saturday night. If you're still hanging out, you're just thinking, ugh, Sunday. So I get it. That's why we all get together here for the Anthony Cumia Show and talk about all the wonderfulness happening in the world. What an uplifting program. Welcome anyway. And like I said, I hope you did have a good weekend. I certainly did. I was out. I went out to dinner Friday night, and I had an experience that got me thinking about this country we live in, America, and how we were as a country, how we hope we can be again at some point as a country. But it's such a stark contrast to what we are as a country, especially in your bigger cities. You know, I left New York City because I just had it, like many people do. A lot of people don't have the capacity to just pick up and leave. I did. So I'm around Greenville, South Carolina, and I got to tell you, it's the difference in what you experience on a daily basis is so stark. It's just a huge change from New York, especially New York City. And when I came down here, a lot of people were like, well, you're going to miss the food at least, right? The New York food.
This is Anthony filling time, but he does get to the point here. And if I took this out, then that would mess the later part up.
And I start thinking and going, no, I don't think I am, because the food hasn't been really good in New York in a while. I got to just be honest. Little Italy, right? You get your pasta. No, I go to a place in Little Italy. It's those aren't Italians working there. I assure you, you can go to Little Italy, you could go to an Italian place, you could go to whatever it is. There are a couple of great steakhouses in New York and some really good restaurants. I get it. But it's not like it was so many years ago where if you left New York, you were settling for garbage pizza and horrible pasta and whatever kind of food you're into. It wasn't going to be as good. Well, that's not the case these days. I think my theory is that during COVID, especially, a lot of these chefs, a lot of these really good cooks in these famous New York City restaurants had it with the places being closed. Some of the states in the United States actually allowed people to open restaurants and act like human beings. So we got a lot of that all over the country. And down here, there was a lot of restaurants opening up that are very nice, very good food. And the service, this is the part that started getting me thinking. The whole experience, not just the food. We walked into this restaurant, it's packed, and there were no seats, tables, or at the bar. So, of course, we'll wait at the bar. You kind of stand there, you get a drink and hope for the best. And then I noticed there's this older couple. Yes, believe it or not, older than me. And they're standing there, and they're looking at the bar, and they got a couple of drinks in their hands. And immediately, they're waiting too, and they were here first. They were waiting for the bar chairs to open up before we were. And I glanced over, and the guy glanced over, and we give each other a head nod that completely works that out.
They tip their hoods to each other.
We were both completely understanding of what was happening right at that moment. We both needed a seat for us and our significant other. They were there first, and without a word, we knew that was the case. It was common courtesy. You ever hear that, kids? Common courtesy. Something that I started seeing on such a rare instance when I was living in New York and in the city. It just, everyone is like a jackal. You're waiting for a seat and you're like a lion on the Serengeti. And I realized that's something you don't see everywhere. That's something that seems to have gone to the wayside in this country. Things like courtesy, understanding. We didn't have to hash it out. We didn't need an interpreter to tell us what we understood because we are both Americans and we both know we live in a society that is based on things like courtesy and having a certain sense of morals, standards. You just understand.
All right.
That was a terrible answer that you gave Aussie guy, Schmuel. I'll wait. No, he's saying, how long are you on for? Because he's saying, if you're on for like another hour, I might be able to jump on for a bit. So they're saying, I'll wait.
Am I supposed to translate hit that Australian to American English and understand that?
Well, that's the very least you could do when
See, I'll say, I'll
like
wait,
reaches
and then
out.
that would encourage him to race home
no,
speeding.
That doesn't. No, it doesn't.
Get to his
whatsoever.
children. And
Dean, he doesn't deserve you on, mate. He doesn't deserve you on the stream.
right,
Don't lower yourself like me.
I brought you in here just to give me a hard time. Mint diggity, we live in a society. Crumb fun. Schmuel hates American streamers.
True.
No, but I'm growing so weary of this. What was that time in France, the Belle Epoque, where it was the perfect time, and we all look back to that perfect time, and this glorious New York that Kumia grew up in. We're essentially the same age, and I don't remember it. Right? I remember riding the train to and from work, to and from high school, I should say, in fear of my life, and having fights and getting beat up, and it was just on. It was on, and it's a city that's New York is just so overcrowded, right? Of course, you're in Greenville. Nobody's in a hurry. You got no place to go. But I'm finding this very right-wing, simplistic attitude that, everything was great before, and it wasn't. And it certainly wasn't for a lot of people, and people of different races. I mean, I hate to say it, but It's true. It's just like, you know,
Schmuel
Kumi,
Wokeman.
cool, right? Cool. Kumi and his friends, you know, they're out on Long Island. It was a very white enclave back then, and they didn't like other people. And most of those people moved out there. Their families moved out there from the city to get away from minorities and other people. So I don't know. I just find it a little bit distasteful, particularly since Kumi is Italian, and when the Italians came to the United States, they were not treated well at all. Um, so I don't know. It's just not that simple for a lot of people. But yeah, you get old and you become crotchety, and that's what it's not about. The time before was better. You know, you were younger, you could do things. And Kumi has been a millionaire for 20 years now, a
Yeah.
multimillionaire. You know, his life is not our life. I mean, one of my favorite things was when he used to have to ride the Long Island Railroad. You know, he was shocked that other people did things. I mean, it is the way it is. Yeah.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
don't, mumbling Nick, don't start. I'm going to start saying shit to you. I agree, Schmuel. Things in this country have never been great for most people, not in the 46 years I've been alive. I disagree. I think it's been great for a lot of people and most people. I think it's not been great for some, but uh, I, I just the old man complaining that everything was better before is more what annoys me than anything else.
Wait, is life not fair? Hang on a second. 1 second. Are there obstacles that people have to overcome? Wait, is every day not perfect? That's weird. Fair enough.
Uh, yeah, I
Like,
just
yeah, sure, sure. Life sucks for a lot of people, but
no, I'd love to see. I just I don't know. I kind of would like to see Anthony have to live in the world that the rest of us live in and see how he would deal with it. And but the racism and anti-Semitism stuff that it just I don't know. It gets to me after a while, and I was really kind of annoyed by that. So, and that's
you
just
probably
me.
shouldn't watch Anthony Cumia stuff then if you don't like racism. It's probably not the best person to watch.
No, I know. Look, Anthony's a funny guy, and I'm not saying he's
Yeah, but
not. I just
there's loads of funny guys though. If you're a bit sensitive and you don't like racism, don't watch Cumia. Just like if you like comedy but you don't like someone yelling at the screen, maybe you should stop watching MLC. You know,
right.
if you don't like fake views and fake laughing, maybe don't watch TSN. You know, not everything's for everyone.
I,
So
and not that's not. I'm not arguing that with you. It's just that.
no, sure, yeah.
You know, I started listening to Kumia when he was on NEW, and met him a bunch of times over the years, and the attitude that he's purveying here seems to be very widespread, and that's the it's just this very simplistic. Oh, if we just overcame the obstacles, you know,
Yeah.
for some
Okay.
people those obstacles are insurmountable, and
Mm-hmm.
their government has fucked them, you know, uh, like you know, I remember down in I guess it was North Carolina, Thomasville, North Carolina, where all the furniture and stuff used to be made. And then they came along one day and said, "No, you could, you know, you could make it in China." And thousands of
China.
people were out of work. And all that stuff right after that happened, that's when all the opiate addiction and all that stuff started because these people had nothing to do. And so,
Mm-hmm.
and if you go to like Appalachia, it's pretty goddamn sad. And I used to go there as a kid, and now I go there and I'm like, there's nothing left, you know. So, in any event, that was just my thing. I'd say this is crumb fun. I'd say you're actually out of touch in New York City more than any other place. Um, hey, man, it's possible, but uh, you know, we're the center of things, whether we like it or not, and it is what happens there. Mint diggity. I see the same shit. Then I go out in the real world. Yeah, when we went to Europe, I just expected I was going to be overrun with Muslim mobs driving cars through crowds
You'd think
everywhere I
that.
went.
You'd
And
think
there were
that
very
if you went
few.
on X, yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
there were very few of them, and everybody was like, for the most part, really nice, and even the Muslims I met were nice. Now I get it.
Mm.
I mean, I get that it's a problem, and immigration stuff is a problem, but it's like,
It is.
go ahead.
Sorry. I was just going to say it is quite interesting, seeing as most of my X stuff is obviously all your guys' stuff. Yeah, I follow your world, so I get kind of all the stuff that you guys tend to get. And any of the stories about Britain, I'm like, can't I can't go outside in certain areas. I'm not allowed to walk certain street. Hang on a sec. I'm going to go to jail if I do what on Twitter? Oh, I'm pretty sure none of that's actually really happening. So it is quite interesting considering I would quite guiltily myself, I guess, see a story about something in Australia and be like, oh man, that's crazy. Imagine having to live in Australia with rules like that. And then you think, maybe it's just the same shit that people say about England that isn't really true at all. So,
Yeah, and when you go to Australia, they think that we just shoot each other all the time.
mm.
That's the. What is it with you guys in guns? You're just shooting each other all the time. No, I don't know if it's the same in Britain, but in Australia, the thing that I found was funny is that
Mm.
there are signs everywhere telling you what not to do. And like we might have a little, little small sign that says no smoking on the beach. And in
Mhm.
Australia, I would see these signs, and there would be like 5 feet by 10 feet that would be no smoking, $1 million fine. It was don't touch there was one of them. It was like no tree trimming allowed, and it had fine up to $1 million. And I'm thinking like, whoever
Wow.
pays that, and you just get it gets so
I,
ridiculous that nobody follows the rules. Go ahead.
yeah, I think Australia are pretty crazy with a lot of that stuff. Maybe compared to you, we might be bad, but yeah, from what I've heard, Australia. Well, again, what I've heard from the internet, really. But I'm pretty sure they're a lot more stringent with a lot of things, like
Yeah.
nanny state.
Well, they have a different, but you're right, but they do have a different kind of society and history and
Mm-hmm.
how it developed.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so that's part of the problem is when we try to apply our beliefs onto somebody else's beliefs, you know, um, and our free speech rules are different than your free speech rules. I was trying to tell you that one night.
One day, Schmuel, you're gonna have to properly like explain that to me, as if you're talking to Ray DeVito, yeah, because it's so interesting. I always hear that, and I'm always like, yeah, but what really are you saying you can do that I can't do? What are you actually saying? Like, what? Give me like 5 solid examples of like I can literally do this, which you can't, and you would go to jail for. Like that's what I need, because when I kind of hear that, I'm like, is it just because we don't call it like freedom of speech or whatever? You like we just go, oh yeah, you just do what you want, just carry on, don't be a knobhead. That's it.
Well, no, it's much.
Send him the
It's.
link. Send
I'm
Aussie guy the
sending. I'm
link. God
trying.
damn
I'm
it.
trying. I'm trying.
So old, Schmuel. You're so old. God.
I know. I know, but if he spelled his if he didn't have that
Yeah,
sussy thing
blame
and it's
him.
the Aussie thing and the hold on.
Yeah.
Hold on. Hold on. Aussie guy, send me a DM and I'll send it right back to you. That's the easiest way to do this. Yeah, and somebody said cigarettes are $35 a pack in Australia, and I think Aussie guy told us they were now 40. So,
Wow.
and he
It's gone
actually
up.
quit. Yeah, he quit smoking because of that.
Yeah, he didn't want to save his life so he could spend more time with his family. He just couldn't afford to keep killing himself.
Well, yeah. Did you
In
see
Minecraft.
my message from Aussie guy is fucking boomer.
Yep.
All
About right.
right. Dean and Luke will be on together.
Oh, you motherfucker.
It's an international show tonight.
Mm-hmm.
So our free speech is different than yours. Our laws, the government cannot restrict your right to political speech or religious speech.
Right. So ours can. Our government can restrict our right to that. Is essentially is the difference. Yeah.
Right. That's the big thing. And it comes from
Right. Okay.
when back in revolutionary times when we came over here, you could be locked up for insulting the king. And they use that a lot. And that's where that came from. But Americans don't even understand free speech. Right.
Yeah.
It's all about the government. But
Keep an eye on the bottom frosty guy, because I know how
I am
you don't
looking.
like to look at the bottom.
He has the link. I'm staring at it.
Good work. Let's
Staring.
just stare at the bottom in silence until he turns up.
Ah, here he is. No, we're convinced that you guys in Britain are followed around by cops with notebooks and tape recorders, ready for you to say.
Here he is. Hello,
What's going
handsome.
on? Hello.
How are
How's
you?
my connection?
It's all right. It's not bad.
I'm on Wi-Fi today, so
Fuck me.
What's going on in Perth?
not a lot. I'm having a sick day, not feeling great, but I can sit here and talk shit. So
Oh man.
why not?
Nice.
Wow.
I need to go now, Dean. It's late. I gotta go. See you later.
Yeah, fuck off. Nobody wants to hear from you anyway.
Yeah, true. Good point. Good point.
Dean can carry his show himself. Because his show was better with just Robbie
Obviously.
and Josh, and then you came along and
Ouch.
I love when we all
hurt?
talk at the exact same time. That's my favorite part of my show.
Yeah. It hurts more because I know it's true.
that's my hardest part of doing this. I was on with Quad last night, and he goes on, and I don't want to step on him. And then when he stops, I'm not prepared for the stop. And then I think of it, and I start to say something. He starts talking again. So it was tough.
We did a Get My Go Christmas special years ago, and there was like fucking 10, 15 people on the stream. And in the final edit that Mike did, like I had 3 jokes in there that got stepped on, and I was like, motherfuckers. And then Mike said in editing, he goes, there was 4 or 5 others that I just couldn't leave in the final edit because you got stepped on that badly. He goes, but they were really funny lines.
It's tough. That's been my biggest thing in doing, aside from not having content and not being very intelligent and ums and ahs.
Yeah.
But stepping on people is
Being
has been a
boring.
problem.
Yeah. Mhm.
Well, I learned boring from
Yeah.
you, so
Thanks,
I
mate.
followed in your
Cheers.
footsteps.
Appreciate
There you
it.
go. So
Aussie
Go
guy, how would yeah, it's my show now. Aussie guy, how would you suggest that you avoid doing that then? Because it is a bit of a funny contrast, yeah. So you'll see my show with Rochi, and we step over each other all the time. I talk over him all the time. But then you see BYB, for example, where it will be like, I will talk, I will then go, now you talk, now you, and I don't really like either. I guess the best compromise is be a good professional broadcaster. But apart from that, any suggestions? What do you reckon?
I mean, you definitely can't help people stomping on each other. I think the thing I always try and say to co-hosts, because you do want to keep the natural flow of a conversation. What I try and think of is stop. If you hear yourself get trampled on, stop, let them go, and just keep your thought in your head. And but sometimes it's in the moment. If you don't get that line out then it's not going to have the same value. So sometimes you have to power through, and it is really difficult challenge. But my thing has always been just stop. If you both talk, if you hear someone else talking, stop, because your point's going to get trampled. So you may as well just stop.
Yeah, true. I guess it requires me being respectful of the other person as well. So I have to work on that one.
Well, you interrupt
Schmuel.
Rochi. Rochi will be midpoint, and you'll just interrupt with a chat and say, "Hey, Diesel, how are you?" It's like, why would you interrupt him for that?
Mainly because I'm bored of what he's saying, but also as someone who talks to Rochi outside the stream a lot, he doesn't shut up. I love him, but he can talk forever, and I'm like, I'm not on stream here to not be talking, Rochi. Come on, I need at least 50% of this time.
Rochi does have these slightly too long pauses in the middle of a point where I feel like you'll go, oh, he's lost his fucking train of thought. I better fucking
Yeah,
carry on.
yeah.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah.
You two are perfect together to absolutely kill each other's points. It's great.
Yeah, yeah.
And there's a
Sorry,
good
Schmuel.
percentage of the time where he has forgotten his point, and you don't know whether you need to jump in because he's forgotten, or he's just pausing and then he's going to restart, and then you finally hear, I forgot what I was going to say, mate. Go ahead.
I love with Roachy as well. He will quite happily say, "Oh no, I love just like the awkward silence," or so I will stop and be like, "Oh shit," I'll let him talk, and he won't say anything. I go, "Did you want to say something?" And he's like, "No," and I'm like, "Oh fucking, I hate that. Just 15 seconds of nothing, you cocksucker." Oh shit! Yeah, good
Apologies
point.
for my dog.
Hey,
No
I'm
worries.
Dean, you have
hear
a
my dog
fan.
going nuts.
Pretty antisocial. I like this version of Dean that doesn't hide behind the mic.
You coward.
Yeah, well, I was actually interested to see how this sounds because when I was on Tukey Soup one day, I did it like Jesus Christ, dog. I did it like this, but I was getting feedback from my headphones, and I was like, "That's never happened before. It's never happened with the pop filter in front of me." So I thought maybe that was a important factor, but I don't know. Am I feeding back today?
No,
No, you're pretty. It sounds all right. To be fair, sounds pretty good.
Yeah, you can hear the dog clearly.
Yes, we can.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, 10 out of 10.
I went and bought a new mic last week. Speaking of stepping up, I went and bought a Shure MV7 Plus for $279 because I was listening to myself, which I hate doing, and I was in a small room and it sounded like I was broadcasting from an empty warehouse. Crumbum asked if something about me. Oh, yes, there it is. Did Schmuel just say mate? Yes, I was quoting Eckel. It was not me saying, hey, mates.
Hey, mates.
I love how Americans say it, mates. Yeah.
Mates, yeah. Fucking losers.
My wife is fascinated by Below Deck. I don't know if you've seen these shows.
Yeah, my wife watches it.
A yacht crew and whatnot. And it's funny because the crew is an international mix of young, attractive people. But the Aussies on there, it's like you can pull that accent out right away. And you guys don't. Are you like generally just nice to each other all the time? Or
I think it's just like any. I would like in terms of overall, it's like any other country. You got a percentage of like douchebags, your percentage of nice people, and everyone else is kind of in the middle. But no, Australians are definitely ball busters. Like, yeah, I've grown up where you just insult your mates at every opportunity, and just to get a laugh. Like, more to the point, you're not trying to be mean. It's to get a laugh. You can pop the room, busting on one of your mates. You go for that first every time.
Yeah. I think that's why British people love hate Australians, because very similar to a degree with that in terms of how we like to speak to our friends. And if you didn't like someone, you probably wouldn't call them a cunt, but if you like someone, you're definitely going to call them a cunt.
Yes. Yeah, well, I've got this joke that it's every job site in Australia has this same Taiwanese fella that works there. Because and he's always fucking up, because whenever anything goes wrong, you can guarantee some dumb cunt had something to do with it. Everywhere you go, some dumb cunt put too much water in this. Some dumb cunt left the machine on.
You left me speechless there, Dean. Sorry. So Peter Sky Parker wants to know if we have wives or partners.
That's a bit nosy.
Question answers itself.
Yeah. I've spoken about on my show. I'm married. I got 2 kids.
Yeah. Married, no kids. My
part of
penis
the
doesn't
problem,
work.
Echo. Part of the problem.
Right. Yeah, all you gay guys that don't have kids, losers.
yeah, bunch of gays. Wait, that's me.
Yeah, I'm a virile straight man.
Yeah, I'm
stories.
surprised at how many couples there are in the Dabbleverse that have been married for quite a while and have no kids and no plans to have kids. That
Mm.
it, like Carl is.
Is there only one person that you're thinking of? Him and Mel?
No, I'm not. I'm not.
It's like there's so
Yeah.
many people. There's like Carl, and I
Well, I
think
didn't
that's
wanna-
it, really.
Yes, except I didn't want to
think
come out
everyone
with
else
other
has kids
people's
or is
names,
unmarried.
and Carl said it publicly, and so it was an example. And he's very proud of it. And
Mm.
so
I think you're just either that kind of person or you're not. Like I just grew up always assuming I'd have kids, and then I got to my early 30s and went, well, this ain't going to be a slam dunk anymore. Like you do have to find a woman and all that shit. But
Yeah.
I always saw myself eventually being a parent. But some people, like, I don't understand the mindset because I've never had that mindset. But some
Sure.
people are just, they don't want to go through raising kids. And yeah, let me tell you something. Like the first few years are very challenging. Like we're getting to the point now where the kids are getting a little bit more independent, being able to do stuff for themselves and all that, and it becomes a little bit more easy, a lot more fun. But yeah, it's certainly a challenging thing, raising kids and having the responsibility of this little creature on your fucking shoulders.
Yeah. And for example, my wife's a bit younger than myself, as is the custom with Indian wives. Not that young, no. So yeah, like we're at the stage now where we're trying for kids and stuff. So, but I'm not really that old. I'm like 35. That's all right, right? That's not too old to be a dad. Yeah,
kind of late.
I think I was 37.
Shut up, Schmuel. Shut up, Schmuel, you cunt.
Really late.
Sorry.
I don't have any kids, so I can say these things. No,
so you're one of the weirdos. You're
what
one
I
of
see
the weirdos
now-
that don't have kids.
I said that I was out to. I had met Aaron Berg and sort of became friendly. Went out to dinner one time, and he asked me if I had kids, and I said no, and he's like, "Bad sperm," and I was like, "Thanks, Aaron." But no, I just one of the things, like the worst thing, the saddest part for me that I see about being a woman is by the time you're ready to have kids, it's difficult to have them. And a lot of these, and there's a lot of guys that somebody called them the dabble cells, I think earlier, like the Dabbleverse incels.
Ozone, maybe. I can't remember.
A lot of these guys that that's like you talk to them and they're 35. They don't have a wife. They don't have a girlfriend, and they're like telling you how they're going to get married and have kids, and you're like, when?
Yeah.
I
mean, I think it was.
Sorry.
Because I think as Crumb over here said, men can have kids till they die. That's true. But trust me, you do not want to be a 50-odd, 60-odd with a fucking 5-year-old telling you to, come play with me and run around with me and shit. You don't want to go through that. It's hard enough for me in my early 40s.
To be fair, he never said that he was going to be a good dad. He just said men can have kids.
Yeah, there's not a biological clock. There's not a biological clock ticking for you. That is true.
It's always crazy to me when you see guys like Pacino, in his late 70s, 78 or whatever he is, having kids. And you're like, what are you thinking?
Well, for him, he's got millions of dollars, and so he'd have nannies and shit. You know what I mean? For him, it's no big deal. But if you got to be the provider with very little income, it's a lot more challenging.
Right, but the more important than the income is the time that you spend with the kids and the things that you do. Right? I mean,
but he would have infinite time. To be fair, his chauffeur will take him in the car if they wanted to.
All right. So, Aussie guy, I need you to tell me the difference. I know what rugby is. What is Australian? What is footy in Australia?
Footy. Yeah, well, it's our own game. We invented it, and we're the only country that plays it. That's why it's called Australian rules football.
So, Australian rules football and footy are the same thing.
Yeah, well, the footy is just the shortened term.
Okay.
None of us call it Australian rules football. We just call it football.
And that'd be weird.
And then we shorten football to footy.
Wait, Schmuel, do you call it American football?
No, we just call it football.
Exactly. Yeah.
Jesus.
And then we always hear it's not football.
Oh, the postman's here.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So of course she's going to bark at the postman. Australian rules football is a very hard game to explain. And I think similar to the NFL, I think it takes people a little bit to understand what's going on in a game of NFL. Yeah, Australia, it's kind of scoring is probably more on a basketball level. You're getting scores of around about 100, etc. But yeah, I couldn't sit here and explain it to you on a podcast right now. But it is my favorite sport of all time, and I think once you understand it, it's hard not to fall in love with it.
Is it a combination of other sports? Like, does it have aspects of soccer and rugby?
I think it's got it's got aspects of kind of every sport really mashed in to it. Yeah, obviously moving a ball up and down the field, trying to score as much as you can. Obviously, the physicality I think is what most people love about it when people see it. I guess because, like with rugby and NFL, you are kind of, where the guy's coming from at all times. He's coming from that direction. In Australian rules football, you could get hit from any angle at any time. There's guys coming from everywhere. So it's, the physicality when players crash bodies in contests trying to win the ball. I think that's one of the highlights of Australian football.
And you're not a rugby fan, I understand.
No, I mean, I'll watch rugby and understand it, but no, it's not. I don't follow it passionately. If there's like a World Cup and I'm watching Australia try and win a World Cup, I'll get behind it, support them, but I don't watch it on a weekly basis.
I was very excited to show you my Cronulla Sharks hat. And I was like, I sent you a picture of it. I said, I got my Cronulla Sharks hat, which is a rugby team. And Dean's response was, yeah, I don't really like rugby.
Well, it's also like, it is that thing. Oh, I know an Australian guy. I've got absolutely no link to the Cronulla Sharks. Like, even if I followed rugby, it's like, I live in Perth. The Cronulla Sharks mean nothing to me just because like they're an Australian team.
Does Perth have a team? I mean,
not in the NRL. No, we had one in the mid-90s, lasted for a few years, but then there was a whole bunch of behind the scenes bullshit that went on. We lost the team. They've been trying to get a team back for years now, but no, it hasn't happened.
My association with Australian rules football is when I was a kid growing up in New York, no cable, over the air TV. You actually got up and turned the channel, and VHF was the way that most TV came in, but there were these channels called UHF. And UHF is where you got to see wrestling. They were like the Spanish channels, and they would have weird sports on in the summer. And Canadian football and Australian rules football were some of the things we got to see. The problem was if you got into any of them. So like if you're like found a team in footy that you liked, you never knew when it was going to be on again or if it was going to be on again. So it was sort of disappointing.
Well, that was
crazy though, wasn't it, back in 45? So
yeah, exactly. Well, I remember like going back to the early not that I remember this. I've heard stories of this. Sorry, back in the early 1900s when the great Sir Donald Bradman was dominating England. There used to be radio broadcasts, but it would be a guy repeating what had happened later. So he'd get a script of like the results and what had happened, and then he'd just kind of make up some commentary of like how the day's play went. That's what the broadcast was. Like the guy didn't actually see it or anything. He got given a summary and then made a broadcast out of it. But no, what I was going to say, in the early 90s when I really got into the NBA, when the Jordan boom was happening, a lot of the time it was literally go open up the newspaper, go to the results section and see who played the day before, and then every couple of weeks they'd put the standings in so you'd see where your team ranks amongst, because trying to follow the NBA, every team plays 82 games. You can't keep track of everyone's fucking record, but you'd only find out every couple of weeks when it was in the newspaper.
Wow. No, I used to do the box scores for baseball when I was a kid. The newspaper. Right. I remember those.
Sorry, Schmuel. Dean, you're amazing. Love you, pal. Schmuel, nice to see you. I'm going to bed. I got work in like 5 hours. See you later,
All
guys.
right.
Take care,
Get out of
chat.
here. Thanks
See
for
ya.
coming
Bye.
on. Appreciate it.
See you, mate.
Save me. So, Dean, you do the show Sunday mornings, and
I do.
it's at 9:30 Eastern, I believe.
Mhm.
Am I correct? And
You are correct.
that has a lot to do with you trying to get the times together, right? With your co-hosts, and so you have
Yeah.
Robbie. Robbie's on the West Coast.
Mhm.
Josh is in Ohio-ish area, middle of the country, and
Yeah.
now you have Eckel, and he's in England. How it's got to be. I have trouble scheduling with Dave, and we're only 3 hours apart.
Well, basically, I started out like I mentioned the show Get My Go before. And go check it out, youtube.com/getmygo. They were recording on Saturday nights my time, which was Saturday mornings. And like that kind of worked perfectly for me with the kids and everything. The kids are all off to bed. I can go do my broadcast. So originally we were doing that time. And yeah, so basically it's mostly for me. The time works for me, but it's also the time works, those guys can do it. Like Robbie's happy to get up for 6:30 a.m. start on a Sunday. But yeah, we switched to Sunday because of El Harible. We're always up against El Harible every week. It's like, well, maybe we'll try Sunday. We'll go on after OJ. And then as soon as I made the switch, I realized that's when Blind Mike is on. I was like, all right, I can't fucking win. Like I'm always going to be up against a bigger show. But although Blind Mike and I both do steel toe, he tends to do steel toe last and I do it first. So, other than that, I don't cover a lot of the same things that Mike covers. So yeah, hopefully it's a thing where, if people are fans of his, they'll come back and watch me later if they're interested. Whereas people just may be more interested in the topics I've got, and hopefully they watch Blind Mike later.
Do more people watch it live, or do they stream it later? Do you know?
Look, we get lately, I think we settle at around 50 live viewers. But occasionally we'll get up to 75 or 100. Sometimes OJ sends his audience, so we get a and thank you, OJ. we get a bump from that. I'd say, I don't know, from the date, like right after the stream ends until the next show, it probably doubles. So probably half my audience watches live or pretty live, and then the other half sort of catches up throughout the week.
Gotcha. I enjoy the shit out of it. I don't get to listen to it live as much as I used to, but it's part of my Sunday. I listen to you. I listen to Blind Mike. Eckel is on in the afternoons, and you and Yard Work go really well together. Hold on one second.
Sure. Echo. Schmuel just leave me high and dry here.
No, I was wondering why I was freezing. I went to turn on the heater. The windows are open. Your Gino coverage is pretty awesome. I mean, you really do hit on the parts of Gino and Keanu that other people don't. And you're definitely what's the term, in the paint that that you'll go with Gino. And Keanu, I try to be nicer, and it doesn't serve well.
I think hyperbole is always good, and it does make for, I think, more humorous content. So when I'm going hard at them, like, it's the thing of like, you don't really feel that angry about it. It just comes across, I think, more fun and entertaining if you are going a bit harder. But yeah, I mean, for me, and again, we've talked about Blind Mike. I like Blind Mike's ability to keep everything a bit more fun and not get too deep into the weeds. And I kind of like to try and do that as well. Sometimes you hit a topic where you just can't help it. You just talk about it, and it is a bit more of a serious conversation. But yeah, the Keanu stuff this week, she's so disingenuous. She's so fake and just doesn't get it, that I think I was a little bit more fired up than I normally would be. But I think for the most part, it's just the arrogance of how good they think they are when it is so painfully horrible, the stuff that they put out.
Yeah, it's brutal. I have to give OG Mumbly Nick, when we mentioned Blind Mike and we said we listen to Blind Mike listens to everyone. Boom. So
It's true.
OG Mumbly Nick, congratulations, we got your joke in there.
I thought his thing on OJ, Blind Mike's thing on OJ was very, very funny. Yeah, I think both of his segments on OJ have been very, very funny.
I was laughing my ass off. And the thing is, like, he's like, at one point on Sunday, he's like, fuck you, OJ. But it wasn't said with like vitriol and that's like, I always feel like Blind Mike does things, but he has a way back, right? Like it's not a Kevin Brennan burning a bridge, for example. And he generally he doesn't attack people, and you're the same. Like you guys don't go after somebody for stupid shit, their hat or whatever. It's like you're going after them about stuff they said, things they actually did. It's very different. So it's not just shitting on them. It's more of a critique, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I think, there's certainly things that I'd like to stay away from. Like, I'm not going to get too much into people's tech on their show or, whether their audio is great or not, because I know there are issues that I struggle with myself for getting everything right. So for me, yeah, it definitely is about how they present themselves verbally and how they go about it on their show. Especially, again, one of the key things for me is cocky and arrogant. If you're really arrogant about who you are and then you're serving up dog shit, then that's when I'm gonna key into it. Like we do make fun of a little show that they're not arrogant at all, but it is more from a love perspective. This show called hashtag Just Saying. Like I found them a few weeks back, and they're this little show that are not harming anyone, but we're having fun with them in a different way to where I do actually genuinely like the people. I think they're fun and they're just plodding away doing a show. But there's things in there that make you laugh that you can just make a little bit of fun of and just keep it lighthearted.
Yeah, I realized at one point I was getting like angry, viscerally angry at Gino, and I'm like, why? What? Why am I so mad at him?
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
And I realized he annoys me, but it's not going to change. Nothing is going to change. The steel toe stuff.
I've.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Sorry, just on that, I was going to say, I don't know if I've ever actually said it to the girls, but there's sometimes where I listen to Pretty Antisocial, where I sit there and go, stop, lady, stop. Don't let him get you like this. Don't let him get you riled up and angry like this. Like that's what Aaron's going to do. He's deliberately trying to make you mad by being an arrogant douchebag. You definitely like to counteract Aaron. It is to keep a level head and just respond to his stupidity sensibly.
Well, that was going to be my question, which is how much of Aaron now do you think is performative, to use a word, that he's trying to piss people off. He's trying to elicit a response. He's trying to get Doom and those people to clip him so he can complain about it later. And how much of it do you think is really him?
There's definitely a lot of him playing it up, trying to get reactions. And usually, I think when he's using the word sweetie and stuff like that, that's where he's just trying to get a reaction. Fucking ignore that. The dog thing with Melton, like he knows it's all bullshit. He knows the whole argument about the dog is ridiculous, but people keep talking to him about it, so he thinks he's got him fired up. And some people are. Some people do get genuinely pissed off by Aaron, which, sure, he's very easy to hate. Very, he's a very annoying guy, but that's kind of what he's trying to do to you, and you are, I guess, giving a win to the toe when you react in that sort of way.
Because I keep thinking that once this case settles, he's just going to become uninteresting and lose half, or more of the people that are following him. or they follow him on a daily basis, the Clippers and those people, and he's just going to wind up in some sort of obscurity. Am I wrong?
Yeah. No, I disagree just because, look, when he first poked his head in the Dabbleverse back in, I think it was around late 2022, I think, I immediately, like, he started appearing on WATP and then on with Schmuel and that, and he's sort of doing the rounds through some of the podcasts that I was following. And I immediately thought, this guy sucks. Like, I don't like this guy at all. And then that's literally a few months later, Patrick Melton popped up when he discovered Steel Toe. So I've been following this shit since well before Nick Recader came onto the scene. So I've always found it interesting. I've always found there's definitely a lot to make fun of with Aaron, especially the desperation and with the goal and all of that. So I don't necessarily think the interest dies, but there will be a lot of people drop off. If all this stuff gets settled and there's no more Nick stuff, no more, of the polykill discussion, there will be a lot of people drop off, but I still think there's plenty of meat on the bone there with Aaron, regardless of what he's doing.
I think, yeah, and I think if Nick comes out and tells his story, or certainly if April does, that'll generate more interest. Two things. The first thing, Peter Sky Parker, sometimes I wish Jackie would just spit it out. Now,
Yeah.
I don't know that this is the same problem, but I think it is, that I have, is sometimes I'm thinking so hard that I want to get my comment right. Like I want to and I want it to be correct factually, and I want to use the right words, that I hem and haw and hem and haw, and then by the time I get it out, I should have just spit it out anyway. You know,
No, I know what you mean, and I sometimes I'm the opposite. Like your brain gets ahead of your mouth, and so you haven't actually spat out everything that you needed to before moving on to the next topic, the next part of the point, and then you've sort of made this mush that didn't really make a whole lot of sense because you didn't complete your thought. So it's a balancing act of how to get it right to get your point across.
I find it was described to me the other night as self-censoring, and I think I do some I think I do some of that, and
Yeah.
I also want to not make stupid comments, and I don't want to set myself up as on particularly when it comes to issues like when it comes to things like race and stuff. There's some stuff I don't want. Like I think having to call people derogatory words or things like that, that's not really what it's not what I do in my personal life, and so I don't want to do it. I don't necessarily want to do it on the internet, and I also like fucking with other people because when they go off on it, I like to go the other way.
Well, it's funny with race stuff, like, because I think it can be really funny. Like South Park did the episode where Stan's dad, Randy, is playing Wheel of Fortune, and the people who annoy you, which are naggers. And then a couple of years ago, I'm in a big group chat with a bunch of people, and there's one black guy in it, and we all always change the name of the group for a laugh. And then one day I changed the name of the group. Chris is the black guy's name, so Chris is a nagger, and he came into the chat and went, "Oh, if you want to say it, just say it. Just come out and say it, you piece of shit." And I was like, well, that wouldn't be funny at all, would it? Like if I just straight up called you the N-word, like that's just mean and rude. Like the nagger part was the joke. Like, yeah, that's I know I don't want to call you the N-word. It was just for comedy purposes.
Yeah, it's funny. Like when they started with calling people Newports, right?
Yeah.
Or when John was insulting Shuli's mother and Noga, and then Noga, and then it was like,
Yes.
3 Nogas stole my truck. That was funny and it was creative. It does but then it's like anything else. The joke gets worn out, right? And so it keeps going. Now, do you follow Brennan at all, or is that out of your?
I'm certainly not signing up to his Patreon, but yeah, he's generally live when I'm fast asleep, and then he takes it down, puts it behind a paywall. So I follow clips. Of course I know what's going on, but I've never watched an episode of Misery Loves Company.
He's breaking, and no, he really is. All right, so tell me how did you meet Robbie? So for anybody who doesn't know, Robbie the Mariners fan, and Robbie's he's young, right? Right, very, very young.
Sorry,
and
he's early. Sorry, the cat's going to be annoying if I don't let him out. Just give me 2 seconds.
No, sure. So Robbie the Mariners fan, and Robbie is a very large young man, very into sports, and he co-hosts the Aussie Guys show on Sundays, and he gets picked on incessantly, and he's a really nice guy, and he's really good about it. So I like it.
Sorry, my bad.
No, it's all good.
Yeah, so this. Oh, yeah. Sorry, go with the chat. I'll read it. Peter Sky Parker. Specific speech patterns really fuck me up. Whenever Ray DeVito is speaking, I'm fucking livid. Yeah.
Again, it's more the words that he says than the pattern of it that makes me nuts. I get so I do this with OG mumbling Nick, like they'll say something on a topic and it's so wrong. And I'm like, I want to yell at them through the screen, and Ray does it all the time. Or he just goes off into stuff, and it's so hard to follow along.
No, I agree. I say it all the time with shows. It actually annoys me with some shows where you're like, well, you didn't prepare at all for this topic then, did you? Because you've got a basic fact wrong. And it just annoys me where I don't even want to listen to the rest of their coverage on the topic. Because I was like, you didn't even have that right. So what's the fucking point in any of this?
Right. And I attempt to prepare. I watch a bunch of stuff. So I try to be knowledgeable about as much as I can. Every now and then I get thrown for a loop, but it does annoy me that there are guys that just turn on the mic, turn on the camera, and then think that they can just wing it. And I'm like, why would I sit and why would I invest time in that? That's, you gotta be a little bit knowledgeable about your subject. I mean, sometimes it's fun. It's fun with Stuttering John because he's such an idiot.
But, oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's part of the fun with Stuttering John is he's going to have it all wrong. But you're not going to Stuttering John watching him to be enlightened. You're going to laugh at him and make fun of him.
Exactly. All right, we're gonna wrap it up here in a minute, but let's read Peter Sky Parker. The incomplete sentences where he leaves off the most important part or replaces the important part with "yeah." Especially when he will look something up on Google, and he'll start to read it. A volcano is a mass. Yeah. And, like, wait, but Ray, the part was we were trying to find out how hot the lava is and how good, whatever.
I get frustrated as well by people that react to a chat, talk about it, but don't read it out. Or, like even sometimes I'll bring it up on the screen, but won't read it out. Like I'm a audio listener. So I'll have my phone locked in my pocket when these shows are on. So I didn't see the chat you just brought up on the screen. I don't know what the fuck you're responding to. I don't know what you're talking about. Or the people, Ray's a good one for it. Gino's a good one for it. He brings the chat up on the screen, reads half of it, and then just trails off and doesn't read the rest of it and go, yeah. And it's like, yeah, what? What are you saying yeah to? I've got no idea what you're talking about.
It's interesting that you say that. Eccles originally told me about AMP4 to download YouTubes, and you can download it's the program. You download it and you can switch it over to MP3 so you can just listen to it on your phone. And I hate listening to myself, but I force myself to do it. So I download it, I'm listening to it, and I'm like, this fucking guy, meaning me, is so frustrating because I was responding to the chat and I wasn't reading the chats. And I wasn't saying the people's names. And so I'm not 100%, but I try to do that. as much as I can. And we've got the wise ass comment of the night from Crumb Fun. So you planned this out, Schmuel. Actually, yes. Because I've wanted Aussie Guy to come on for a long time, and these are questions that I've had for him. So there you go. Do you think that I riffed on football and Australian rules football? Come on, not that good. But
I mean,
so
it did. Your big plan did rely on the fact that I had a sick day today and was actually available to come on. That was some good planning on your part.
right. Well, I also had planned if you didn't come on, that was going to help. I had originally when I did this and I was doing it with Dave. I would give Dave everything. He'd be like, "Let me do the clips. Let me do all this stuff," and I'd be, "Ah, great." And then invariably, what would happen would be 5 minutes before the show would go live, Dave would send me a text and say, "My father's blood sugar is out of control. I'm not going to make it," and I'd have nothing. So I know to prepare things, and I'm trying to get better. I heard E-Rock today talking. He was interviewed by Chrissy Mayer, but he said in the studio they were talking about Ant, and Ant has signs, I guess, in the radio studio now saying no N words. You can't say this.
Yeah.
And E-Rock said that even people like who say and ah and those things a lot, they'll put signs up, and it actually stops you from doing that. And that's my big issue is the ums and ahs or part of it.
I'm terrible for it. I'm terrible for those. I'm like you. I like to listen back to get it. Yeah, I always want to improve. I always want to get better. So I listen back to hear, how things are presented, and I say pretty much after every clip when I press pause, I go, "All right, so," and then go into my point. So I make fun of Keanu doing drinking games with the stuff that she keeps repeating. But if you watch United States vs Australia and drink every time I say, "All right, so," you'll be drunk by the end of the episode. There's no doubt about it. So yeah, I've got a lot of little ticks that I need to work on. It is a challenge because you just can't help it. You're mid thought and you go trying to get onto your next thought, and it's like trying to break away from that.
Right. And this is a hobby after all. So it's
Yeah.
not, and you have 2 kids, I've got a job and a wife. It's not, you don't have a lot of time to sit and practice. Right.
Exactly. Yeah.
Peter Sky Parker, I like how you guys don't feel the need to give us fake radio energy. Yeah.
I don't know if that's a shot or a compliment.
No, I think it's not. Look, I take it as a compliment. Peter Sky Parker has rarely been sarcastic with me, other than telling me that my audio is great.
Yeah.
When he tells everybody else theirs sucks. So I walk around thinking he was really telling me my audio was great. But yeah, I don't want to. I don't want to be fake. That's the thing. And it's funny because I dislike those shows. I'm not a fan of Red Bar. I mean, I've only watched them a little bit in the last year or two, but it's just like between the sound drops and the movement and the big studio and what's the other guy? Jesse PS.
Yeah.
It's just I don't know. It doesn't feel real to me, and that's what I want. I want real.
I'm with you with Red Bar and Jesse PS. I just get this like we're too good at this. You shouldn't be doing this, blah, blah, blah. Like if I'm making fun of someone, I don't want anyone to stop. Like if you enjoy doing it, do it. Like it's this, I don't know, what do you call it? Gatekeeping. Like you're not allowed to do what we do. It's like, well, people will either watch or they won't. And then we might quit or we won't. Like, what do you care? Like that's sort of what bugs me about their coverages. Yeah, just I don't know. It doesn't seem as fun to me. It seems a lot more negative and serious, I guess.
It's funny that you say because that's how I opened the show tonight was with Kumia sort of deriding podcasters and people who get they just get a mic and a camera and they think they're broadcasters. And I look, I know it wasn't directed at me, but I've had that sentiment directed at me And I'm like, it's the old Howard Stern thing, right? You don't have to watch. There's a million channels on YouTube. You can watch anything you want. You don't have to come here. So I'm not
No, I agree.
forcing
And
you to.
about like, cause yeah, so I did the thing with Husey and Steel Toe, which obviously got me the bump that I needed to, start getting some people in to watch our show. But before that, we're doing 5 live viewers maybe, and getting 70 to 100 views, maybe every now and then 150 views total. And I know back then I was kind of going through the motions a bit. And it was a little bit of like, I'd have topic ideas, but nothing really prepped. It was just, we're going to talk about this and let's just go around to each person and let's talk about it. And it was pretty lazy and all that. So I guess I'm at the point now where I want to present something, and people are either going to like it or not, but I need to put some thought into it and present something and at least be able to say, yep, I tried on that and I tried to make something entertaining. And look, it's made a difference. I got a little bit of a bump and people are watching now. And, we do get 50 live viewers, like 10 times what we were getting. So, it is kind of working. I just think the main focus is present something interesting or funny. And then you can be satisfied in what you're doing. But if you can turn off the mics and go, I didn't put any effort into that, that was shit. Then you need to be questioning yourself.
You handled that steel toe. That was like, it was uber professional, because I would have lost it. Like, I would have just gotten so pissed off at him, be like, Aaron, you're a fucking lying ass, and you handled it like asking questions, not getting angry with him, and trying to get answers. And he made himself, you uncovered him by handling it the way you did. And that was what was so great about that video.
Yeah, I do think at times like people have given me way too much credit in terms of like, they're like, oh, you really destroyed him. No, he behaved that way himself. I originally was going to come in and start asking about April straight away because I thought he was going to leave within a couple of minutes. As soon as he realized what was up, I was like, he's going to be out of here. So I was going to get straight to the meat of it. And I was like, nah, ask about his show. And him flipping on me, just asking about his show. Like, I don't know. I'm pretty sure everyone noticed the smile that came on my face straight away. I was like, got him, And then after that, it was trying to, how long can we keep him here? And it is kind of the misconception that I went in there and asked him about April and stuff. I didn't bring up April until he called me a scumbag, and started calling me a rat. And I was like, well, now you've opened the door. Let's talk about scumbags. Let's talk about rats. Look, there's no point in freaking out. Like I do pride myself on staying calm in all situations. And
you let him show himself for what he was, right? Like you could have been a complete asshole, and it could have just been two guys yelling at each other, and
which
nobody
I hate
would
that
have
anyway,
won.
so.
And you certainly walked away, whether you believe it or not. I mean, you certainly walked away as having shown him up, the professional broadcaster that he is.
Yeah, I think that was what stood out to me about it, is the fact that he was gloating about talking over me and not letting me get a point out and repeating the same insult over and over again. I was like, are you proud of that as a broadcaster? Are you proud that that's what you devolved into at that time? Like, that's what was funny to me. And like some people said, like, because I sent in the DM afterwards, which, a lot of short-sighted people, for me, I don't have any heat towards Aaron. I don't hate him. I would love to talk to him again and see if we could get a little bit more out of it. So that was the point of me DMing him afterwards. Now I've just lost my train of thought of what I was actually going to say though. Oh yeah. People said to me, oh, you didn't owe him that message. Like he was really rude to you. And I was like, no, he wasn't rude to me. Like I was just the face of the internet that day. It wasn't about me personally. You know what I mean? He wasn't talking to me personally. He was talking at the angry, the evil internet people that have been trying to quote unquote ruin his life.
Yeah, I mean, even the DM, you handled it admirably, and it's funny because there's an old line that one of the things that I live by, which is circumstances reveal a man; they don't make him. And the way you handled that whole thing was with class and with grace, and yeah, I know there were a lot of people that didn't like the fact that you DM'd him afterwards, but I was like, that was perfect because you were like, it was great because it's, one of two things were going to happen. Either it was going to get content like it did, it elicit that response, or you were going to get to talk to him more. So either
Yeah.
way, it was a win strategy. But I would like to say, I'd like to think that you probably did it more because you're just a nice guy, and you didn't really want to be thought of as like a vicious dickwad. So
Yeah, it mainly was the ambush side of things, which I don't necessarily agree that it's an ambush. Husey invited me on. If he doesn't tell Steel Toe, that's on Husey. That's not on me. But at the same time, Aaron thought of it as an ambush, and I'm like, yeah, look, I know you thought of it that way, but I thought that it'd be great for fucking clicks and engagement and all that shit. One of the interesting things he said afterwards, which I thought was very telling, I felt he was embarrassed as a broadcaster because he described me as a wannabe journalist. Like he said, he thinks he's some sort of journalist, blah, blah, blah. And that was funny to me because I was like, no, I don't think that at all. But you took from it that I was being very professional about how I conducted myself. So you think that I think I'm a journalist, whereas I was just trying to be as professional as possible. So yeah, I thought that was very telling when he said that I think I'm a journalist.
yeah, and let's be honest, there is no way that he could not have known that Steel Toe and the issues and all those things weren't going to come up during this. It's Husey, right? Like,
Yeah.
he wasn't going to. I was trying to think of an Australian newscaster's name, but I can't think of it. But he's not going to Dan Rather or CBS it's Australia, whatever your ABC 60 Minutes over there is, and with rules, we're laying these things down, and we're not going to ask those questions. And he did have the ability to just say, no, I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
Right?
No, that's it. I like Peter Sky Parker's comment, most recent comment, if you want to bring that up.
Oh, doxing. Sorry.
Yeah. Doxing Deem's name while telling Husey to take down Super Chat that had SP's name. I'll just say SP. What was funny about that is I gave him genuinely good advice at that time as well. Where because he said, Husey, can you take that down? And I said, Aaron, don't react to it. I said, you're drawing attention to it by reacting to it. Now people are going to go back and look at that name and they're going to figure it out. And he was like a douchebag to me about that as well. But that was the thing. I didn't react once to him saying my name. I didn't care anyway. I've never been hiding my name. I don't know. I like the Aussie guy as a gimmick. But I didn't react at all to any time he said my name because it will make more of it. Now, in the end, it's made a lot more of it because he said it 500 fucking times in that interview. But it was like, I don't care, Aaron, but you're showing you care, which means people are going to use that now. But again, he was in such a shitty mindset at that point that he couldn't take anything I said on board.
Yeah, it was very funny because I couldn't tell at first whether he was doxing or trying to talk down to you, right? Because that's
It was
what
a
you do with
manipulation
kids,
tactic. Yeah.
right? Yeah, when you have a kid, and you want them to really understand, maybe Dean, this is and you use their proper name. So yeah, and then I realized, oh no, he's also doxing him at the same time.
Yeah,
So
well, Husey introduced me as Dean. That's Husey's fun thing to do. He does it all the time. He continues to do it. Says my full name everywhere, everything. That Husey did it initially, right? And that's how Aaron knew my name because he didn't know who I was. He only knew my name because Husey said it. So that certainly wasn't on Aaron. But as we were talking boxing and everything was all civil, he was referring to me as Aussie guy. He did it multiple times, but as soon as things turned, it was fucking Dean. It was definitely a manipulation tactic, trying to spook me, trying to, you know what I mean, intimidate me, I guess.
Yeah, I do picture him as one of those guys that he picks up little things and he chambers them, waiting to use against you later on.
Yeah.
So that's it. All right, I have one more question for you.
Mhm.
when it comes to, so when I came in, when I first started watching YouTube, it was pre super chat, pre super tip. And now I'm watching YouTube, and I'm wondering how many people are playing to the super tips and the super chats, uh, and not focusing on their shows. And then, do you think that the ability to be monetized through chats and tips uh, negatively affects shows? Do you think like some people do it well, some people do it poorly? Like
I
Kevin
think
Brennan,
yeah,
I'll say that it feels to me like it's like his entire show is about getting super chats.
yes, and there's quite a few out there. I think it shows up obviously the shows that are just there to get super chats. They always talking about them for starters, but you can just see in the flow of the show that these people didn't prepare any show to do. It's just we're gonna go on, start talking, and then hopefully the money starts rolling in. I think it does negatively affect shows, but I think certain shows do it well. I think Melton's very good at it. I know everyone thinks I'm a massive Melton ball washer, but I think Melton is very good at intertwining the chats at a nice flow into the show where it doesn't necessarily break things up, unless, of course, people skip the queue on an AI voice chat, which, what are you going to do other than turn that off? But I think Melton's pretty good. I think the fact that Carl does segments and then at the end of a segment, he'll read through super chats. I think if you're watching later, you just go, okay, cool. This is the time to skip through super chats where I don't care. The Schmuel network is definitely prepared, but I find all the super chats on there, it's fucking nauseating. Those are, like you're 45 minutes into the show before there's any content. It's just super chat, super chat, super chats. And they're not funny or interesting. And like Schmuel takes shots at super tip saying, easy way to derail your show. And I'm like, so your blocks of super chats where people are requesting songs and you're playing little songs in between it and just dragging out the show with absolutely nothing content, that's not bringing your show to a screeching halt. Like, I don't know, that people do it differently. And I think the more super chats you get, the harder it is to keep your show, I guess, flowing and interesting, especially if the super chatters aren't funny. Some super chatters are fucking hilarious and they add to the show. Everyone can have a laugh and continue. So I like to, obviously, we love to get super chats on our show. We don't get many, but of course we want them. We love people to donate, of course. But I think my goal is to build the show up to where it's mainly about members. And you've got a consistent group of people that will give you a few bucks a month for some, a couple of bonus shows or whatever. And where you're not going on hoping that someone's going to give me a $20 super chat today and someone's going to give me 100 and blah, blah, blah. Just build your show up to where you can sort of rely on memberships.
Yeah. And, one of the things with everybody picks on Schmuel, but it's a good place, but this is a good place to do it, is a lot of his super chats are low numbers, right? $2, $1.99. And when you've got to read all of those, it detracts from the show. And then I had talked earlier about my wife likes to watch Below Deck. I think you were on when we talked about that. And she'll watch it sometimes on Bravo on demand, and they have commercials. And when you put the little cursor up, across the bottom is the red bar, and then it's the little yellow spots where you can see where the commercials are going to come up.
Yeah.
And you can see by that how they suck you in, right? They show you a decent amount in the very beginning, and then they bang you with commercials. So there's there's one, then there's four, then they'll spread them out a little bit. And then towards the end of the show, there'll be one. And then as you get to the very end of the show, there'll be three. And that's the thing with Schmuel is like, so it's 45 minutes or whatever before you get into your package. And then you get into the package, and then I'm getting 5 or 6 minutes of the package, and then you're back in to the super chats again.
Yeah.
And it's like this, it never gets done. I was listening to Point Dabble Point on Monday, was on Shuli's channel, and I thought half or more of the show was them reading super chats, pushing Dabble House. Um, it was I was actually it's like this is not what the point of this was. The whole point of the show was to sort of be free of that and do
Mm.
it. And Tukey, I noticed, and I've heard Melton complain about him, but Tukey, you'll send him super tips, and then he won't read them till the end
Yeah.
on Tukey Soup. So that's
Yeah, he does. Yeah, he doesn't really break up the show with the super tip. I get Melton's point, like prioritize super tips to get people to go to super tip instead of super chatting. Like I certainly get that side of things. And I think Perry Caravello doesn't do super chats until the end. They'll do super tips all throughout, but if you send in a super chat, it's like that won't be read till the very end. So
Yeah.
I think that's a smart way to push people over to super tip. I agree with you. Point Double Wayne was fucking atrocious on Monday. I checked it out. And I checked out the Shuley show on John's last show. And John was sitting there reading off the list of guests and thanking people, blah, blah, blah. And then it got to the point where he was just rattling off random names. And then TSN turned that into a bit where they would just rattle off random names too to make fun of John. And I'm like,
yeah.
so now we're watching a shitty show rattle off names while a shitty show rattles off names. Like, what's funny about this? Why is naming random people from the 70s and 80s funny? Like, I couldn't get it. I had to switch it off. So this sucks.
I get that with the what is it? By the way, were they doing that By the Way song, or they were doing the Morse verse songs? It's like
When
this is
when John
this
was
is
playing with his hair, they do
awful.
the songs. Yeah, it just I don't get it. I don't get TSN. Every now and then, if Kumia's on, I'll tune in or whatever. I'm not a fan.
I used to watch it all the time. It was it's really more than WATP because WATP was only on once a week.
Mm.
It was, it brought me in. Have you watched Bob's shows lately?
No, I can't do Bob. What I'll say about Bob is I think he's very funny. He is funny. He's funny off the cuff. But I think Uncle Rico was at its best when Bob first joined.
Mm-hmm.
And then a couple of months after that, you sort of got everyone like that kind of like repetitive shtick and you kind of get it. And you can predict what Bob's going to say. You can predict what, or Bob's going to give a line and then Shuley will basically do the same line with different wording, and it was like, all right, I've heard the funny they've got to offer and I'm kind of over it now. That's kind of what it is with Bob for me is I've kind of heard it all. He's not really adding anything. Like he is one of those shows that just turns on the mics and says, let's hope some super chats come in. He doesn't seem to, have anything prepared or anything interesting to talk about.
No, and I was watching him yesterday, and that's exactly what he was riffing, and it was awful. And then today, I felt terrible for him. He's got no teeth, right? No dentures in. So and I'm like, Gina's not in Turkey with him. And it's like, hopefully if she was there, she would have stopped him from doing it. But he looked 80, right? Not that but he looked 80 and it was embarrassing. Like, why are you doing, like, are you that desperate for these super chats that you can't go a day? Or is this something that you need? Do you need the injection of people responding to you in order to do it? But yeah, I'm with you. I've seen Bob perform a bunch of times, and it's pretty much the same show every time, and it's not prepared. And I had a talk. I've said this a million times. I had a talk with him outside of DabbleCon 2, and he had gotten in an argument with Shuley, which had nothing to do with any of the stuff that happened later, that they wanted him to prepare. And he's like, I don't fucking prepare. I don't do that. And that's why he was the host, and he had actually wanted to do like 20 minutes. And it was interesting to me because I was like in my head, I know he was trying to like say to me, hey man, I don't have to prepare. I'm a star. And in my head, I was thinking, no, wait, you just sold tickets for like $100 and you've got all these people here and it's a show and it's timed. Of course they want you to prepare, right?
Yeah.
And are you going to go on Letterman or something like that? I know that's a stretch, but are you going to go on some, Jimmy Kimmel and not have vetted the stuff out beforehand? And especially
No,
since
no,
we had a topic.
I think it's clear that's not the kind of comic that Bob is, and Crumb Fun says all comics do the same live show, which is true. They get themselves an hour material, a half an hour, whatever, and they do the same material night after night, but it's prepared material, and they'll eventually. I mean, good comics will retire that material and come up with a whole new show.
Right.
I think the thing is with Bob is it's the same crowd work, I guess, over and over each night is kind of the difference there with Bob. Which, look, at the end of the day, if you're making the audience laugh, that's all that matters,
Right.
And I think in a live show, like laughter is contagious. So if there's people around you laughing, something that wouldn't make you laugh if you're sitting by yourself might actually make you laugh out loud because other people next to you are laughing and shit.
Yeah, I guess you're right. My thing is he comes to. I live near a comedy club, and it's a fantastic place because it's BYOB. So I don't have to go in. There's no like 2-drink minimum. You can use your minimum to buy food or merch, and the food's actually pretty good. But when I'm saying I've seen Bob perform a bunch of times, I'm not talking about like seeing Bob perform in March and then seeing him again in June. I'm talking about seeing him perform in March of 24 and then March or April of 25, and it's the
Yeah.
same. It's 100% the same act, and I've seen like Aaron Berg a bunch of times, and he's a crowd work comic, and he mixes it up, and there's new stuff, and there's actual jokes in there. Whereas Bob's stuff is really strictly crowd work. It's more, picks the audience, picks the guy in the wheelchair, the black guy, and it's the same thing.
Well, and look, I think it's been shown as well that people like Stuttering John and Chad Zumach, if you saw him in 2014 and then again in 2025, you're seeing the same fucking jokes as well. Like they don't seem to update their material too much, but again, at the end of the day, it's what you do that night on stage, and if you entertain those people and you make them laugh, that's all that really matters. I think too often we get a little bit too into critiquing people's stand-up sets to where it's like, well, maybe it's not a great room that night, or you just weren't having a good day or whatever. I'm sure these guys have had successful nights getting laughs. It's not always crickets for them.
No, I guess. I mean, I saw Chad perform, and it was, I felt bad. I actually felt bad for him, and it was tough.
He would have been pretty defeated that night. Like, it is his own fault. Don't get me wrong. Like, it was his show. He said he was doing a show to give back to the fans, and then he rocks up right before showtime to discover they got a karaoke machine and no stage, and
they didn't have a karaoke. They didn't have anything. He literally had to go out. Somebody said, "Oh, I have a karaoke machine in my car."
Oh, that's even worse. Yeah.
And
right.
that's where they went and got it. Crumb, I've seen several known comics over the years do the same exact show. So yeah, there's a guy, Bob Nelson, I think, who does I could have the wrong comedian, but it's like an Epi Epperman bit or something, and it's a like dopey football player, and he does that. He's been doing that same act for 20 years, right?
Mm.
But I don't see that guy out saying, "Oh yeah, I'm fantastic. I'm the best." Like Bob really does try to, he tries to act like whatever. I'm going off on Bob, and I shouldn't. I just,
No, and look, Crumb is right. There's a lot of comics out there that are still writing off the same material from forever. And I remember hearing Jerry Seinfeld talk about it, and Jerry Seinfeld's like, "No, it's like a rock band. They want you to play the hits." And I was like, "Yeah, well, that's not necessarily I want. I don't want to come hear jokes I've heard before." So yeah, I guess again, like I don't tend to go see comics multiple times, mainly because I live in Perth and they rarely come here. And when they do come here, if they've been here before, it is new material, and I'm talking Bill Burr, Louis C.K., these kind of comics that are constantly refreshing their material. So for me, yeah, I've never really seen comics multiple times to really be able to judge on that.
Now, Perth is a pretty industrial area, right? Is that?
I mean, look, there is a lot. Like Western Australia is a huge, like mining is our biggest thing here in WA. So yeah, there's a lot of mining production facilities in Perth.
Because my Perth knowledge comes mostly from Eddie Ift, the comedian. I used to listen to him, and oh my God, I'm forgetting the guy's name. The Jim Jeffries.
Oh yeah,
So
yeah.
they used to do a podcast together, and Eddie Ift would. They did like once a year in Perth, and they would tell Perth stories, and being at the mines. Like somebody would say, take them to a mine, and the hookers, and just all that stuff.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I've been on a few mine sites in my day. It's an interesting situation where there's this one camp. You're out in the middle of nowhere. There's just this one camp that everyone stays in. You knock off work. All you can do really is just go to the wet mess and get drunk and play pool and talk shit. And then it's wake up in the morning, go do 12 hours, and then go get drunk again. Like it's a weird lifestyle to be living.
When I was in the Air Force, there was in Wyoming, and I can't think of the name of the town, but all there was this little tiny. It wasn't even an Air Force base. It was it was a listening station. It was a seismic listening station, and its whole purpose was to determine whether the Soviets had launched missiles and whatnot. There was nothing there, and that's all you did. I was there for like 2 weeks, and all you did was you would do your shift during the day, and then you would be in the bar immediately after because there was nothing else to do. Yeah.
I went to a site. We were starting up. We were making the camp. It was a brand new site. There was like, I don't know, half a dozen to a dozen people on site. And when we got there, we didn't have toilets or showers yet. We had one donga with 4 beds in it, and obviously there was more than 4 of us there. So I remember having a night sleeping in a sea container next to bags of sugar and tins of coffee and all that kind of shit. And yeah, we went, I think, 5 days of having to shit behind a tree and not being able to shower. They have what they call as a turkey's nest, which is a hole in the ground with black plastic that's filled with water. So after about 3 days, we all went and jumped in there just to give ourselves a rinse off because we hadn't seen a shower for days. But yeah, absolute middle of nowhere, absolutely nothing to do. You're so far in the middle of nowhere, you can't get any phone reception, anything. It is fucking absolute boredom personified.
And last question of the night. So Australia is actually bigger than the United States, right? Size-wise?
No, I think United States is slightly bigger, but yeah,
slightly
it's pretty
bigger.
similar.
But it's not. Yeah, it's not close. But the western half is like very dry and like where you are, and then you have that. So and then the outback is the north. Am I right? Am I wrong?
The outback is pretty much everyone, like 90% of people live on the coast of Australia. Like there's very little people inland. Like, and I'm talking like the absolute coast within a I don't know, couple hundred miles of the coast. Everyone's living. Everything in between is basically desert, and yeah, that's all the outback. What you'd refer to as the outback. It's just nothing. Like we went away in September. We took the kids up north. We drove for 3 days, I think, to get to where we were going. Now in America, can you imagine driving for 3 days and not going through another city?
No.
We were still thousands of miles from the next city. You know what I mean? Like it's crazy how much nothingness there is in Australia.
Yeah, it's insane. Many moons ago, I drove through Arizona, and it was like that. Like you would go, not as vast as that, but you would drive, and you'd have a town on the map, and you think, oh, I'll just get gas and stuff there. And you go, and the town is like one store, And
Yeah.
now it's all built. Like there was this town Gap that I remember my girlfriend and I at the time going to, and I had to knock on the door of the general store gas station to have the guy get me gas. And it was a sign. It was like in the middle of the night, knock on the door, and the guy was in the back. And now it's like small city, and so it's completely different. There's very little few places anymore that you can just do that. But
You
I
should
would
check
get
out a documentary on Netflix called Last Stop Larimer. I'll send you more details about it later. But that's about a tiny little outback town of like 11 people. It's one of them gets murdered, and it's a pretty fascinating story. Yeah.
wow. All right, I gotta wrap it up. We
Yep.
I always say I want to keep these things to an hour and a half, and I'm 2 hours and 40 minutes in but this was special to get Dean. It's really hard to do that, and there isn't overpopulation. There sure as hell is by the coasts. Sydney and those places, they are packed, right? Um, and you do have a lot of rules there. So we'll talk about that some other times. And the cigarettes are now $40 a pack. Was that the
I think so. Yeah. Like, well, that's for a pack of 20, and that's the cheap packs of 20. Because obviously all these cheaper brands started coming on the market because it's all in tax. It's the prices are going up
right?
in tax dollars. So yeah, I think now, your cheapest pack is probably about $40 for 20 cigarettes. So $2 a cigarette for the cheapest kind. And yeah, I did like Eccles' little dig. I've been trying to quit for a long time for my family and for my health, but
Right.
it certainly became so crippling financially that it made it an absolute necessity. It was like, oh, you won't be able to fucking pay your bills if you keep trying to smoke cigarettes.
Right. Well, that was their goal. I always laugh in New York because they do this thing where they tax the shit out of cigarettes to get you to stop smoking. And at the same time, they'll say, "Oh, if we tax the shit out of it, it's going to stop people from behaving this way. We're not going to do it." And then they'll go and they'll tax the shit out of a corporation and then be shocked that they're leaving the state. Yeah.
Mm.
They'll be like, no, 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 they shouldn't leave because of that. In any event, all right, Dean, thank you. Sorry, the Aussie guy, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank
It's
you.
great to talk to you. And I have the best. I have the best listeners. That's something that always amazes me. I always when I see pretty antisocial in the chat or you, Stalin, Eckel, Rochi. I'm always amazed. I'm always shocked, and so embarrassed too. Anyway, thank you very much. Talk to you soon. All right.
Thank you.
Good night. All right, guys. We went way too long, but special guests. That's something that happens. I am at Schmuel_Buckman on YouTube and at Buckman Schmuel on Twitter. Follow the ladies. Pretty antisocial. They're pretty fantastic. They do deep dives. I'll probably put it so you'll learn a lot about Letty, I guess, was somebody I had never heard of, and Steel Toe and other people, and they're in there and they're smart, and they also know what the word dissemination means. So that's a big one. Hey, Peter Sky Parker, thank you so much for being here and approving of my audio. The rest of you guys, Nick, Crumb Fun, I felt bad for you the other night because I think did you have trouble getting onto Pat Dixon's show? Go watch. I think Crumb is going to be on Pat tonight, so Pat's on Rumble. Starts at 11, and Mint Diggity is always, uh, he's not my biggest fan, but I'm his. And that's it. Affy, all you guys, take care. Have a great night.